It's all right, thank you. Y'all are tough folks, are they? All right, guys, we'll go ahead and get this meeting started. It is 6:34. And if everybody in the audience will go ahead and silence their mobile devices, please, as well as the board. County Manager, would you care to lead us in our invocation tonight?
Glad to. Dear Lord, thank you so very much for all you've done for us, for all you've blessed us with, Lord. I pray you give us wisdom, Lord, as we try to follow your will, Lord, and do those things which are good for the people of Mitchell County. Lord, I just pray your blessings would be upon the folks in this room, Lord. There any of them that's got special needs in their life, Lord, I pray you just reach into their heart and just touch their needs, and Lord, just be with them. Lord, I thank you for your direction. Lord, I just praise you and thank you for everything. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Commissioner Steve Pittman, would you lead us in our pledge tonight?
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you guys took a few moments to look at our ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder. Do any of the board members at this time have a conflict of interest they need to make known?
I just will note that employee of the school for item number 11 on G. Board of Education Expression Request.
Thank you very much.
But there's not.
Moving on along, item number 6 tonight is any additions or changes to the agenda. And I would propose that we move item 10, our closed session, down to item 16 under public comment.
One second.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, and I also have another change to the agenda. Move item 11E. The LPA lease needs to move up to items for discussion. That'll be the last item, and that'll be 10I. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
All in favor, vote by your sign. Okay, motion carries. Any other additions or changes to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Clayton. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, vote by your sign. Okay, and the motion carries. Next item up is our approval of minutes. So just for July the 1st of 2024. And those were in everyone's packet. So if everybody needs to review those for another moment, feel free to do so. And then we will need a motion to approve those tonight.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
You, Brandon, all in favor, vote by your sign. Motion carries for that. Moving right along, item 9 tonight is reports and presentations. Item 9A is going to be our employee of the month. And I'm looking, she is not going to be in attendance tonight. So, County Manager, I will give you her certificate. We'll give that to her at a later time. And then, if you would, here is some information about Miss Connie.
Right. We'll honor our July 2024 Mitchell County Employee of the Month. Before I start, let's just go ahead and get these things going. This helps. We are excited to announce Connie McKinney as the Mitchell County Employee of the Month for July. Connie is a senior center program supervisor and has worked for the county for the past 14 years. Connie's position may be to coordinate and executive a wide variety of activities for the senior center clients, but she takes it to a totally different level. So how does Connie do more than is required of her? Here's a few bullet points. Connie is a great listener. She makes the time to listen to the clients and their issues. By having great listening skills, one demonstrates empathy, builds mutual trust, shows respect, and helps diffuse conflict. When someone listens well, it elicits a more authentic self-disclosure and fosters a sense of connection. This is Connie. By building this trust with clients, she assists them in ways not required, but to give them a lifeline, such as getting their social security card replaced, IDs, medical needs taken care of, and so forth. She visits clients when in the hospital, visits family when clients pass away. She doesn't only offer activities for seniors to do, but activities they want to do. She has been known to get creative so that clients aren't isolated from society and provides them a safe place. She purchases items out of her own money when need arises for clients, for bingo games, pays attention to in the activities when they can't pay. She has been highlighted many times in the Falls Prevention newsletter. She's coordinated and participated in the cleanup of a senior's home when they weren't able to even take the trash off. She takes food when folks don't have food. Connie is a true and reliable friend to the clients and shows her compassion and love in everything she does for our senior center clients. She definitely goes above and beyond. She is one of those kind of people that gets involved with those folks in that senior center. She doesn't let them get lonely. I'll just throw a few extras in there of mine off what I'm reading. Congratulations and thank you for going above and beyond, Connie McKinney.
I hate she couldn't be there, but she does a great job. I know the seniors out there love her. Moving right along, item 9B is going to be our tax collector's report. So Ms. Jessie, you'll come on up. Good evening. You look like a Minnie Mouse tonight and
We're
you're matching.
you're seeing spots tonight. Okay, so we've started our new year collections, of course. You have the report, $773,655.68. It's a good start for July.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Jessie?
Those are foreclosing.
We have two coming up August the 15th, 14th, totaling $6,100 unless they redeem. So we didn't have any last month except for everybody's been redeeming, so which is
Great.
good. And then our percentage, we ended up being at 97.46.
97.46.
Yes,
Let me ask you a question. It's not on your report, but it's on Mavis's, but it's got some.
Mavis has a lot of report numbers.
I'm just looking at the outstanding current year taxes,
Mhm.
2024, it's wrong amount. Almost $12 million.
You mean that's the new year?
Outstanding current year taxes.
Yes, it's 24 this year. That's
Okay.
their current year.
The one that started in July?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Then for the last 10 years, and we don't, that amount's not a whole lot of money. From 2024, 2014 to 2023.
Because you're looking at revaluations every 4 years, so you've got those numbers to look at too.
Okay,
So that's why it's increased.
okay.
by a million. So you can see the difference. From there, from 14 till now, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I was just comparing, for a 10-year
10 years.
period, the outstanding taxes are.
8.5 million in 14. And now it's 12.5 million.
Okay, that's not showing, I don't see the 18.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's on my 10-year report. We
Okay,
have a 10-year report and Mavis also has that.
Okay.
too. So,
would there need to be a possibility that we could get that report like you just stated?
yeah,
That
sure,
we break it down in our packet.
For each year?
Depends on that.
Yeah. sure can.
That
I'll
would
make
help
it
me
up.
understand this a little bit better.
So you just want the 10-year collection percentage report?
Mhm.
Sure. No problem, I'll do that.
So we have. In 10 years, then we come down about 7 million
Yes,
on collections.
not down, I'm not sure.
The numbers come,
Oh,
we're not owed as much.
no, no.
We don't have as much outstanding.
Yes, exactly.
All right,
All right. Which is what we want.
yes,
Good thing.
and I'm sorry if I confused you.
No, that's fine.
She loves to be put on the spot.
But she's always a fan.
But I will supply that. And if you want this one, that I
No,
have currently, I can email it to you.
yeah, you might mail it to him,
Okay, I can do that.
be fine.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Item 9C tonight is our High Country United Way, and I'm excited for Miss Rebecca to come up, and I was like, I knew you were back there somewhere. So just come on up, Miss Rebecca.
Hello, guys. Good evening. My name is Rebecca Hall. I'm the Executive Director at the High Country United Way. First of all, I want to thank the Mitchell County Commissioners for allowing us to be on the agenda tonight. We really appreciate that. The High Country United Way has the honor of being the county coordinator for the North Carolina Governor's Volunteer Awards for Avery, Mitchell, Watauga, and Yancey counties. The award was created in 1979. And the North Carolina Governor's Volunteer Award is a significant part of the proud history and tradition of volunteerism and dedicated community service in Mitchell County and in the state of North Carolina. As a huge thank you for his volunteer service in Mitchell County, Mike Gunter was nominated for this prestigious award by Starlee McDowell and Cynthia Nash with Mitchell County Shepherd staff. For his compassion, dedication, and relentless commitment to volunteerism and to the mission of the Mitchell County Shepherd staff. And I'll read a little bit from the nomination. Mike has volunteered at Shepherd Staff Food Pantry and has served as the board president, and now he's the treasurer of the board. Last fall, he stepped in as an interim director after the previous director, Mr. Davis, had to leave for immediate leave of absence. Mike volunteered at the food pantry full-time, 5 days a week, pulling in other volunteers from the church and the Kiwanis Club to help feed the clients in Mitchell County. It's a big job, but Mike made sure nothing was missed until Shepherd staff, board of directors, could post, interview, and hire a new executive director. He continues to volunteer 2 to 3 days a week at the food pantry and serves as the treasurer of the organization. I feel like you're going to be on the board for a long time. Maybe. And make sure, and this is Starlee, that she has the support she needs to succeed in her new position. Last year, the food pantry served 251,941 pounds of food and gave out over 400 food boxes every month to clients in Mitchell County and surrounding counties. Mike is also, he's got other hats he fills, it seems like. He's the current president of the Spruce Pine Kiwanis Club, very active in the Youth Key Club program, and in quotes, to work with school principals and teachers to provide high school students an invaluable experience in living and working together to prepare them for useful citizenship. Mike is also a very active participant in the First Presbyterian Church, serving on the Finance Committee, and is also an active member of the Mitchell County Historical Society, preserving the history of our great community and the surrounding areas. So, on behalf of Roy Cooper, Governor of North Carolina, the North Carolina Commission of Volunteerism and Community Service, the Mitchell County Commissioners, Mitchell County Shepherd staff, and the High Country United Way, we are happy to present the 2024 North Carolina Governor's Volunteer Award for volunteer service to Mike Gunter. This is from the state.
Thank you, thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome. And this is from the United Way.
Wow.
And you get a pin too. He's highly decorated.
I went into
Excuse me.
Shepherd staff one morning and Starlee said, congratulations. And told me what it was. I said, well, I don't know what it is, but I'm honored. And time went by and I went back to her. I said, you were just pulling my leg, weren't you? There's nothing really, I didn't really win anything, did I? She said, yeah. I said, now with my name on it. So, okay.
It makes it real. Here's a pin too.
And a pen too.
Yeah. Stand up there. Go stand. Do you want to come up here? Yeah, I want to get some pictures. Where's a good place so you guys can be included? Maybe here on the side?
You're the boss lady. You
Oh,
know that's what
you're
it
the
is.
boss lady.
No.
Let's go over here.
I'm not very photogenic. I'm always in the wrong place. Just follow her.
Careful, you might lose a shoe right here. I see it.
I'll stay out. I'll leave it.
We're supposed to shake hands or add one to me, or we just stand?
I'll do that.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna lose my hand.
That's our guy.
Look at that handsome board there, that beautiful board. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You don't feel obligated to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you want to, you're more than welcome.
Hope to see you guys next year.
Next item up is a Via Health update from Dustin Burleson, but it don't see.
He actually contacted me earlier, this month, so he need to go on the agenda for the next one. So I'll move we table. Not next month, I'm sorry, the second.
Yeah, the 19th, I was gonna say, he just sent me a text through.
So I move we table, let us until the 19th.
Is it the ninth? I don't think it was not the ninth, it's the 20th.
Okay.
Is that okay?
It's
Is it 20th?
the second meeting of the month.
Gotcha. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Clayton. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Okay, and the motion carries. All righty, our next item up is Dr. Boyd with Mainland Community College.
Hello, how y'all doing tonight?
Thank you for that.
And thank you for allowing me to come in to mostly to do an update on what's going on at the college. And so, over the past year and as we go into the first year, first of all, I'll tell you that our last year, we grew a little over 13% in total enrollment. And so in the year before, we grew 18%. So we've been on a pretty good growth mode. And we're up pretty well, this year. This year, we've got over twice the applications than we've had last year. So over twice as many people have applied to the college. Now, I don't know what that's going to translate into, but hopefully, it'll keep our growth going. And unfortunately, though, it didn't help us much on the budget because the Senate and the House didn't pass the budget, so our enrollment growth isn't there. But hopefully they'll do that yet. Again, we were in the top 10% nationally by the bestcolleges.org. And we were number 2 on another organization as the most affordable in North Carolina. That's a good one to be on.
But I've been touting this to a lot of different people, and I should know it by the letter as it was, but the agreement that Malin entered in with Appalachian Lee's-McCray, can you talk to that? I've talked about it to a lot of different people and encouraged them to.
I'll talk about it right now.
Excellent.
So we signed an agreement with Appalachian State, App State on the Aspire program. So what does that mean? It means that if a student comes to us, either if they're taking high school classes or starting college, and they say, I want to go to App State when I graduate, we will advise them in a way that everything will transfer over. So when they finish their 2-year degree, they're guaranteed admittance to App State, which is a big deal these days. And so they're guaranteed admittance as a junior. And so it's a great program. And then,
That's a little different than I advertised, but that's excellent. Yeah. I was, for some reason, I had on my mind that it was a free tuition to go to App, so
Well,
appreciate the clarification.
the first one had free tuition because he had scholarships.
Gotcha.
But no, they are, but they do go to App State and guaranteed admittance.
Excellent.
And there are lots of scholarships, and a local scholarship actually paid for the first student to do that. And then we just signed an agreement with ETSU with our human services program for a full 2+2 program with them, and they're talking to us about some addition. We're trying to do as much as we can locally, so we keep our kids locally. Because we want them to stay here, work here, run a business here, raise children here, fill the schools, and eventually get to us. So that's really been a goal. This year was the first year we competed in Skills USA. Our applied engineering program went and won second place in the state. And that was for the Mars rover that they built they got the plans of the real Mars rover, dropped it to 1/6 scale and built it. Once they did it the first time with plastic parts, they went back in and parts that were needed to be out of metal, they 3D printed and build them on that. So you can drive it around, it's got a camera system, you can put on goggles and look through the camera and drive around. It's pretty neat. And they did a great job. Second place is pretty good for the first time you compete. We did 100% pass rate with our nursing first time, did 100% first time pass rate with our BLET. And those are all important. And a lot of the BLET graduates were already had jobs locally. And that's important. We're starting culinary this fall, and we're starting dental assisting this fall. And dental assisting will be a workforce program, start a little bit later in the fall, but we got both of those programs ready to start. We start fire science in high school this year. Right now, we have 4 students, but they're age 14 to 15. And I'm not sure what the requirement, and I'll have to talk to an instructor if there's a requirement that they have to be 18. I'm sure they have to be 18 when they test. But I don't know what that will do to that, but we're offering the class. And so if that's what's in it, that's what's in it. So freshmen and sophomores, not any juniors or seniors. And so, but we're starting this fall as we have a cyber security certificate ready to start. This month, we should get notified from ARC. We are in a grant with Community College Appalachian and American Association of Community Colleges. There's 30 colleges in the CCA region and community colleges and out of 13 states, and we're one of them. And we expect, since the federal co-chair said at our meeting that we were getting the grant, even though it hadn't been decided yet, I think that's a pretty good sign. And so but that'd be for us, that'd be $200,000 over 5 years, and that will pay for an instructor. And so, or about half pay for an instructor. So the cybersecurity certificate will be an add-on to any of the degrees. So if you get a business degree, you can get that certificate. If you get a criminal justice, you can get that certificate. But it's a good program. We decided to go with the certificate rather than a degree because we felt it was more relevant right now for us. We're also starting a 911 degree, associate degree program, working with Richmond Community College, that people can go through and get an associate degree in 911 operations. And we're doing another run on industrial maintenance program. You may be interested in putting some people in there. It's a great program where it's kind of, you learn some HVAC, you learn some electrical, you learn some plumbing, you learn code, you learn you do all the safety classes, but it's a well-rounded maintenance program. And our local industries asked for that a couple of years ago. We ran it a couple of times. And so it's a good program, but it's relevant for government, it's relevant for industry, it's relevant for a lot of things. And so that's coming along. Other things, the YMCA, you probably noticed if you drive by there, it's really coming along well. We're not going, people ask me, are you going to be done a year early like the school? Well, no, because that would mean we're done now. And we're a long ways from that, but we're looking at next August and to be done. And that'll be a great thing for our community. We are also working on where the new culinary program will go in 3 Peaks. We are pouring the pads for that. And then we're in design on that program. We're starting a program on the main campus. If you haven't been by, the hotel landscaping looks really good, doesn't it? Yeah, and it looks really good. And so we're permitted to open part of it now. And then just for information purposes, nurses, looks like the first year is going to be 21, 22 students. It's a good number. Second year be 21 or 22 to 23 students. And a third group of mostly EMS and LPNs and all that will be another 15. So we're pumping out the nurses for the region, as we should be. And then, October 1st, you'll be getting an invitation pretty soon, will be my house party. So brisket, smoked turkey. Will be another meat, I don't know if it'll be, won't be smoked turkey, it'll be deep fried turkey, my smoker went to put. And so I'll be deep frying the turkeys. But if you haven't had my brisket,
Missed that. That's what I would say.
yeah, so that's always a great thing we enjoy that party. It's our kind of little thank you to everybody. And, we'll get, typically 60, 70 people there for sit down dinner. So it takes, the house handles it better than the driveway. And last but not least, there was a question about payment and the loan with MEC and college, I think at your last meeting. Understand we have 3 separate entities at the college. We have that go through separate audits. We have the college, which this year went through a state audit. We've got it out right now, trying to get an auditor that will do all 3. We have the auditor that does the foundation, and we have the same audit firm that does the MEC. And all 3 have separate boards and separate leadership. And so, as we were working on the hotel, we ended up borrowing money through our institutional accounts. Part of that was to make up, if you remember, a lot of you weren't here then, but if you remember, we did a resolution. And when we started construction, we were anticipating 4 years of funding. That ended up being 2 years. So we had to find $500,000 as part of that, which was fine. We did. We didn't want it was going to be controversial. We didn't want it to be, because up until then we had 100% unanimous votes for the town and county. And so right now we're a year ahead on our payment schedule. The hotel makes those payments, and at the end of the agreement is the end of 7 years, actually end of 8, because we started early, and then we'll have a fund balance too. And at that point, we'll pay what we can from the hotel, possibly all of it, depending on where we are. And if not, then we'll probably just reschedule and extend the loan between the 2. And so, but all the payments from that are from the hotel and from profits from the hotel. There isn't any county funds or state funds going into those payments.
So just for clarification about what I was trying to follow you there, so the foundation owes the college, is that the way?
No, the MEC owns the Enterprise Corporation. And
Owes
it's,
the college,
what's that?
they owe the college, who's the loan?
Yes.
Okay.
The institutional accounts. And it's not that uncommon to do that. And we do it all the time, short term, when we have a grant that we're doing construction on, we have to make the payment first and then get reimbursed. It's the same basic thing, only a little bit longer term. And
What is the term?
it's 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah. And so that is what that is. And so an enterprise corporation is kind of unique in North Carolina, although there's other colleges looking at it now, but it's not unique. For example, you go to Virginia and they don't call it an enterprise corporation, they call it a real estate corporation, but it's the same basic thing. You have your own board of governors, and general population membership. On the MEC board is mostly people that are somewhat related to the businesses that we run. And so we can get good advice from them. And but they are the leadership and the management of the MEC. And so, and I serve as CEO of the corporation. And so it's but we've got a good group on there.
And so you said there's 3 different, you're looking to do 3 different auditors, and you just want 1 auditor?
Yes, we
And so
want,
the state,
the state won't do the other 2.
okay,
And so we put it out, and the reality is that we're one of the only ones in the West that even use the state auditor, because they're so expensive. This year, we paid, I think, $120,000 for an audit. I mean, that's crazy. And so, plus, as soon as the state gets on here, they start complaining because the foundation and the MEC isn't done yet. And so, with one auditor is responsible for all three, the only people they can complain to is themselves. And so, so it's a good thing to go with that, but we'll save quite a bit of money. We only do a state audit every 2 years. And, but we do the other audits, and this was the first year we did a full audit on the MEC.
So the state audit's $120,000 with the state charges, is that what you're saying?
No, the state charge is 120, yeah.
Every 2 years,
No, it was scheduled to be 60,
okay,
and it ended up being 120. We're, whatever they charge,
and that's just for
the state audit. Plus, we do the foundation audit and we do the MEC
But the
audit,
$120,000 is just.
just the state. Yeah, that's
That's
a lot of money.
it's like 3 times what ours is.
Yeah, it should be more. I think when we do a bidding process, our FQ on this, my guess is we'll be down more into the 40,000. And like I say, we're the only ones in the West that even use this estate anymore. So,
Well, I've got a couple of questions. I wasn't at the last meeting. With family on vacation, and I apologize for not being here, but. I was going through board reports, looking through my whole process here. And Commissioner Pittman, who's on your board. That Maitland, I'm gonna read this, he explained that Maitland had been audited by the state. They overall had a good audit, but had a couple of corrections.
well, we do internal adjustments. So if the auditors, and it depends on the audit, on who does them, but with the state, they do them. So if they see something that they think should have been coded differently, they just automatically do it.
So it was a coding
Yeah,
issue.
it's a code. Yeah,
So overall,
it's a good audit.
you
Yeah.
received a clean audit.
Yeah.
And then, I'm gonna go on down, this is Commissioner Masters. She pointed out that, recently had a financial audit done by the state. Stated in December 4, 2023, that the Board of Trustees and the MOU with Mayland Enterprise Corporation, a related party of the college. And goes on to explain it was to fund renovations to the Blue Ridge Boutique Hotel. That is owned by the college and operated by the corporation. He explains there's no interest on the money. And the way the MOU was to be reimbursed by the corporation. $794,000. So the fall, 2025 was 25,000, 2026 was 25,000, 2027 was 50, so on and so forth to 2030, 2032. I think you've already answered the question.
Yeah,
that
and
you
we're
paid-
actually, we've made our first payment a year early, so we're
Yeah.
actually a year early on
you
that.
paid
So
more.
we'll just do 3 years of 25 and then jump into 50.
And then she also asked a question, about the funding coming from donors, state funds, county funds, or what is the funding source?
The funding source of the hotel for the
Okay.
kids.
So the hotel's paying for itself?
Yeah.
Okay,
And this year, one of the things I announced at Convocation Thursday is that, because part of what we're using the profits for on this is faculty, staff, particularly professional development, because we really don't have funds for that. And the other part is going, towards student activities, things like Skills USA. So this year Thursday announced 3 new professional development opportunities, one for arts and science and health science faculty, one for workforce and the workforce curriculum faculty, and one for staff. And so they can put together proposals we're going to review in 1 October to go to a national convention somewhere. I limit it to the country, to the lower half of the country. And so, that generated a lot of excitement, as you can guess, because we haven't had a lot of opportunities for that. We want people to be able to go to conferences and present. And so this is something the MEC is starting to do now to give money back to the college.
We kind of touched on this question, his caller. It's talking about that repayment structure. It's 7 years, right?
Yeah.
And then it's 25, and it jumps to 50, but the last year is like substantial. correct?
Yeah, it'd be a fund balance. It'd be, a lot of loans are structured that way where you make payments up to a certain date, then you have a larger payment. And at that point, we'll either be able to make the full payment, a good portion of the payment. And then reworked MOU for that. And so that seems to be, because we don't draw interest on that money anyway, so it just sits there. We can't, and we're restricted on spending, how it's spent, but we can borrow off it. And so it just makes sense to do it that way. And the auditors made a comment on it about, but the reality is that it was half that much when they did the last audit, so it shouldn't have been a surprise to them. So.
Do you project, I think it's like, is it $500,000?
Yes, it's over 5.
So
94.
What's that?
I think in Hardy's comments, it was 594,
Yeah.
578.
Yeah, and we actually did a pretty good sized payment on it last year as well. So that original amount went down.
So you paid more than the minimum.
And so, yeah, it's
Like a balloon payment.
yeah, balloon payment, exactly, that's the word I was looking for. It's a balloon payment. And with balloon payments, you can either refinance it or you can pay it.
I mean, personally, I think balloon payments can be a little bit scary.
I mean, it can be, and but you know, it's our intent there is to make money to generate back into college. Right now, we'd be paying even more, but we've got furniture for outside to buy, we've got startup costs and some things. And we didn't want to put ourselves in a situation that we overspent and then didn't have what we needed to get it going.
But your plan is to continue to make more than the minimum.
Oh, yeah.
Every year, okay.
Yeah,
So that it may not be such a big balloon at the end.
right. But we're doing well down there. This weekend, we were at about 50% occupancy. The weekend before, we were 100%. And the minimum gem people that come for the shows don't usually stay in nicer hotels. And that's nothing wrong, it's just that they're trying to save money. And we still pick up a lot of weekday with the mines particularly.
Are you fully open now? Is the third floor open?
What's that?
The third floor open, are you fully?
Oh, yeah, it's been open. Yeah, it's been open.
You're totally. open.
Yeah, what we're waiting on is for the kitchen equipment to come in. We're waiting to get the full outside patios done. If you haven't been there, it's got a nice water feature now that Chris Boone did. Yeah, and then we're waiting on the grant. We got the grant. We've had the grant, but we're going through Commerce. It's an ARC grant. But Commerce is managing the grant and we're using HUD rules. And we submitted our environmental a year ago. And then a couple months ago, they said, we want a new one. And so we've had to have a new environmental, and now they include the radon test. Radon test will be done in the middle of this month, and then we'll be able to get moving on that, so we can do the inside dining area. And so right now with the inside, besides the Y, we're getting the flooring up in there for the culinary, getting a stairwell up to it. And we're putting inside toilets inside, in there. So when they do events, even if it's not fully done, we don't have to have porta potties. And, if you went to Mineral Gem Festival, that's never nice. It's never good. And so it's again, this project was really not a Malin vision, it was a community vision. Because when we got the building, we brought in all 3 county EDCs. We brought in all 3 county chambers. We brought in the town of Spruce Pine. We brought in the arts community. We brought in a good group of people to discuss what is the best use for that, particularly the Coliseum. And so part of it was academic, which we're doing. And part of it was community, which will be eventually the event space and YMCA. And you might not know this, I don't even know if Steve knows it being on the board, but on the last, facilities, strategic plan, that was done in, I think, 2008, we're updating it, but was done in 2008. It called for a YMCA on campus, as well as a big event space on campus, on the hill back between us and Badger Underwood. And so that's been part of our strategic plan. It also called for a con ed, or for a service area for programs such as culinary and massage and all that. We're doing all that. We're just doing it there instead of on the main campus. And so it really hasn't changed, but the idea behind this was really generated by the community. And that's the way we've always kept it focused. And then we've been able to maintain the focus on that. Because I can tell you, as you probably know, it's easy to have people come and want you to change focus all the time. And so my job is to keep the focus.
I'm gonna ask a couple more things just for clarification and public record. Has the Mayland Enterprise had any problem making payments back to the college?
No. Mhm.
Okay. Next question. Mayland runs 3 campuses, Avery, Mitchell, Yancey. Has the 3 peaks affected the college or any of the 3 campuses?
No.
And I think you have already got down, how's the Blue Ridge Boutique Hotel doing as far as booking and reservations? And you said good.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I had down, one point to make, it's apparent the college is growing with growth from a lot of community colleges and state colleges and private colleges. Enrollment is down.
We're the 6th fastest growing college this past year in the state. The 6th fastest community college at the 58.
And I know
That's good.
you probably don't have a figure for this. And I know when the Blue Ridge Boutique opened up, you started paying the TDA occupancy tax money 1 month, I believe, before you were required to do that. Do you
I
know-
believe we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you making that statement that you were
Yeah.
gonna start. Do you have any idea the amount of money that the Blue Ridge Boutique Hotel has paid back to the TDA?
I don't. I look at it every month, but I have a lot of things on my mind, so I don't remember
I didn't
everything.
think you would.
But we pay that, of course, we pay sales tax.
Mhm.
And the sales tax is higher than the accommodation tax.
Okay.
And it's probably catching up now since they're 6% on the accommodations, but we're making our payment. And Alan had asked me to just send the information to him, but my board members felt that for transparency purposes, it's probably best to come in. And I was coming in anyway to do the updates. And so,
I just have one spin-off question of something that Jeff had asked. So none of the funding from Avery Mitchell or only Mitchell funding goes to the Blue Ridge Boutique Hotel as far as that loan. It wasn't Avery and Yancey's funding as well, was it?
no,
Okay, just checking.
It was just commissioners.
it was a commissioner, you talking about the original agreement? The MOUs?
No, I'm talking about the loan through the one that I referred to in the state audit,
Mhm.
but that's not Avery and Yancey.
Well, it's college. So it's.
So technically it would involve all 3 campuses.
Yeah, it's the institutional accounts. So, but those accounts are like small business. I mean, they're restricted to that. And so we have a couple pots that are restricted funds, but they're not intended to be spent anytime soon. And so, and then we also get occasionally pots where we get from grant management, which is a little bit less restrictive. So as things calm down, we'll balance some of them out, and that's where some of the overpayments will come from. And so good, life is good.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
I have one more quick question, like, what is the leadership here, I was curious, does Mainland have a large like virtual program, do you have anything that's all virtual, or is all of your
All what?
classes virtual, or is all your classes in person?
No, we do a lot of virtual. And we do a lot of hybrid. They even got a new term for another type of class. One is over 50%, one is under 50% virtual, but we do. Every class typically has some in-person component, and we're trying to increase that. Because I want students on campus.
Right.
And so, but, and then some programs like nursing, it's there. But the good thing is every class is set up that it can go virtual, so that if we have a snow day, we just call it a virtual day and we don't have to cancel.
I'm just curious, because the other day I found myself like wondering, there are some programs in the community colleges across the state that's totally virtual. And I thought, well, really, if I wanted to take a virtual program that's completely virtual, I could take it on the other side of the state and.
Yeah, and it doesn't benefit the community.
Right, so I just was
Yeah.
curious.
No, that's another thing that's always a concern. And so, so we, but we have, most of our classes have a on-site component. And some of them are purely cosmetology, it doesn't do you a lot of good to virtually cut a hair.
Right.
And I welcome you all to come down, because that's where I get my hair cut.
I think my wife got hers cut there.
Yeah, and also, we gave everybody passes for the planetarium at Christmas time. We hope you use them. And we'd like to see you out there. And again, the planetarium, and the Earth to Sky Park we're still the only higher ed in the world that operates an IDA observatory. We're the largest telescope in the Southeast. And the IDA site is one of two in the world that have both a planetarium and observatory. You have to go to Korea to go to the other one. Now, if you can't make hay with that, and we've marketed it heavy, and we get a lot of people coming.
That's the word, it's just gonna go on.
Yeah, and we did a big picking here a while back. We just invited everybody that lived within a mile, so they could see what's in their neighborhood. We had a really good turnout. They really enjoyed it. So, thank you for asking. Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Next up, we have the Pisgah National Forest update.
Good evening, Jen Barnhart. I'm the district ranger on the Appalachian Ranger District of the Pisgah National Forest. I've been here 4 years now, so most of you should remember me. I usually come at least once a year to do updates, and I've worked with Alan and David as well from the county with our Visitor Use Management Committee for Rhode Highlands. So anyways, thanks so much for some time. Tonight, I am going to be focusing on talking about the Gap Restoration Project, and also our Roan Mountain updates in terms of that construction and where we're at on that Great American Outdoor Act funding. And then also just a few updates related to the Visitor Use Management Committee, just for some highlights. I do have I'll end up sending this to Alan afterwards, just to be able to provide to you, particularly around, then you can send it out to him, so that'd be great. But for the Gap Restoration Project, I might have mentioned this briefly the last time I was here in some way. But basically, this is like a large landscape restoration project that goes across all three districts of the Pisgah, and that's why it's called GAP. So Grandfather Appalachian Pisgah. It's an acronym, and it's really focused on decreasing fuel loads in terms of risk at wildfires, and then also increasing fire adapted forest communities. So again, those two will help out when it comes to wildfire risk. Most of you right now, it's fire time, big time out west. So that's all that's happening out west. But y'all know we get them here too, depending on rotation. So if you have drier sites on the forest, just in general, in terms of the ecosystems, yes, we definitely usually have big fires every 4 to 5 years. And even in some of those wet music areas of the forest, we're still in a rotation that you could have a wildfire there in an area every 10 to 15 years. So folks might not think about that, but that's a big thing that we think about across the Pisgah. And I'm sure landowners, as they think of, hopefully, well, some people don't think about it when they move in, buy new property and realize their house is so close to the forest and then we have a wildfire like right up against them. So that's been pretty hard, but regardless, we're in the process now. So when it comes to the Forest Service, anything we do as a federal land manager before we touch the ground and disturb it or do anything, we have to do an environmental analysis. So particularly like a very large landscape project such as this, going across all 3 districts, and it's very focused again on those high risk areas for wildfire. That's how we're looking, and we've looked at some identifiable areas. I'll talk a little bit where is that at in terms of Mitchell County. But we have to go do an environmental analysis, and through that process, we're looking to see if we see finding any significant impacts to any resource areas. So yeah, you have a botanist that's gonna be looking at this. You have somebody looking at scenery, some looking at wildlife, aquatics, watersheds, archaeology, all types of things that we end up assessing related to it. This is a little different this time around. It's not site specific. Oftentimes we're analyzing everything down to the nth degree before a decision was signed. The forest supervisor on this one is the one that's going to sign this decision because it crosses 3 districts. It won't be my signature decision on this project and how we're going to proceed, but it'll be the forest sup, James Malonis. And the key thing there related to that project is we will have, it's an adaptive process. So we'll have something very lined out around an implementation strategy and what's our order of entry and all those types of things as we go forth. And so you'll see me as updates come through. But right now we are in a draft environmental assessment. It's out for comment currently. Comments close at 11:59 on August 12th. And so that info I'll send to Alan. It'll give you like the link directly if you want to go check out the project more. And if there's any comments or anything that you guys want to put, either positive concerns, those types of things, folks can put in there. But yeah, after that, we potentially we go through a process of looking at all the comments, responding to comments, deciding if there's any changes to the EA. And eventually we'll put out a draft decision, or James will. And then there's an objection period. So folks could object the EA, and we'll have to go through that process. And then a final decision could be made. So potentially in February, a final decision. But we're already trying to look forward towards where we would doing prescribed burning and then veg treatment. So it's really, those are the 2 things. It's like prescribed burning and then veg treatment. So that means we're going in and cutting either quality saw timber, or it could be non-commercial, non-quality. It's like more like timber sale improvements, because we're trying to get oak and hickory restoration. So there could be an area that we need to go in and do some release from competitor species for the oak and hickory. So that's sort of where we're at on that project. This is very much part of a collaborative. And so there's lots of acronyms, the Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Project. We are one of those in the nation. We're selected and receiving funds for the next 10 years. We're in year 2 of receiving funds for implementation. And so that's what's been able to help us. We've doing more of an uptake in our prescribed burning and hopefully veg treatments, but it really hinges on getting this analysis completed for us to be able to implement. So we have funding, which is awesome, for another 8 years after this. And we've really revved up our personnel as well in terms of those, definitely in the fire world there. So part of that, we do it in a collaborative manner. So there's tons of different partners that have been with us from the get-go, from when we first started looking at this. We meet with them quarterly. Some of those that definitely NCFS is part of this, WRC is part of this. If you've interacted with Blue Ridge, Prescribed Fire Council, Zach O'Donnell, that's attached to the Blue Ridge RC&D, would be one. SAHC, Southern Appalachian High Conservancy, they're part of it. And then definitely the Appalachian Trail Conservancy is part of this, because they're trying to look at the scenery and the treatments we're doing near the Appalachian Trail. So there's definitely folks, if you have interest, those are ones that there's plenty of them that are there at the table and trying to give other perspectives, not just the Forest Service coming up with this in our own little silo world. So That is a good deal. The Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, they're part of this as a co-steward of their lands. So they're at the table, as well as our Southern Research Station, the research part of the Forest Service is also at the table, that we're working through on it. So lots of good folks involved. But yeah, I'll name off a few of the key actions that we're addressing. And there's, I think, let me see what the total of that is. So I do have a large map, if anyone's interested in talking to me later, or I can hang around, or I don't know, connect with you guys at a different time, but there's 107 pieces of land. Those are we call them areas of interest. And so throughout all of those districts, the 3 districts, which make up 500,000 acres, there's 107 areas of interest, which means in the area of interest, we could be prescribed burning, but it may not be that whole area. It might just be components of the units that make sense. And then there's partial pieces where we're doing veg treatments too. But the whole point of it is why we're doing it. The top thing is, forest restoration through improving species composition, ecological processes, function and structure. Again, that goes to the oak and hickory, as well as southern yellow pine. That's that fire adapted species that we're trying to get there. I don't know how long you paid attention, but fire has not been on this landscape on a consistent process. So that buildup, as well as just the different climate, more fuels, it's just drier, we're getting less rain, those types of things. So that's the whole point of why this is, more imperative to keep working towards this and at a larger scale. Reduce the intensity of the wildfire, and then improving species health and increase regeneration of underrepresented species, again, in that red oak and mesic oak ecosystem or ecozones. And then, the other key part of this is just making sure we're coordinating with local, state and federal, non-government communities and private landowners. So we're also we work with some of the groups that work with private landowners to do prescribed burning, all lands approach, because just because the federal land stops doesn't mean fire or anything else is gonna stop, right? It doesn't work that way. So, your areas particularly, it's that northwest corner close to the Yancey County area, and that's going to be a beauty spot, which we have prescribed burn up there before in the past. And we coordinate stuff with Cherokee National Forest, so we are working with Tennessee as what they're burning just next door adjacent. And we are also looking to strategize how we work together on that. Joeberry and Bowling Green, that's just next to Beauty Spot before you get all the way down to Poplar and into the Nolechucky. That we started prepping. We actually already have an analysis done just for those areas. So we're probably going to be actually burning that this coming fiscal year for us. So our fiscal year starts in October and goes to the end of September. So you might see us burning over there. And then I know Shinbone, there's some other unit potential other than in that area that we might do prescribed burning. So we're going to be looking to figure out better ways to communicate with communities and the counties, volunteer fire departments, emergency services, that type of thing. Because we do a whole thing where we have to not notify before we burn, but a lot of folks are like, well, I'd like to know if it's it's like, you can call 911 and then they'll say, no, we're prescribed burning, but some folks might want more insight. So if we have more help with that, that would be helpful. I don't think I've met your emergency services.
I can line that up.
Yeah, I feel like I'm missing that one in Mitchell. And so, okay, because we'd like to set up time with our fire manager officer. And also if you end up having like storm incidents or flooding, we'd like to be proactively preparing to work together.
I have my fire marshal in addition to him too.
Okay, I'll get with you on that, but that's really some of those key things. Again, this is helping us have these conversations now, and we do have a story map, and I'll provide that in the information I give to Alan that he can give to y'all. The story map allows you to read a lot about this project, but also allows you to zoom right into little different parts of anything we're proposing. So that usually is really, people like that a lot, is the story map piece. I did push that out, I think, to Alan and a couple others last week, because we did have an open house in Burnsville, but that story map link was in that information too, but we'll make sure we get that to y'all. Any questions on gap restoration before I go into Roan Mountain segue?
How long do you think it's gonna take to get the restoration complete?
Oh, yeah, we had that question last week, so you and I will probably be gone by the time you get, where you're getting to your desired conditions. You know that 100 years ago, this whole place was slicked and burned before the Forest Service came in and started managing it. So it'll take some time, because a lot of our stuff is even aged that that mid-class of forest right now. So that's the whole point. We want to have some diversity of early successional species coming in, and so we need to be able, it'll take time for that, you know, little tree ring that you get on a tree as you cut into it takes a really long time. So for us, when it comes to like the fuel buildup, we'll be able to see more of that benefit easily, or in terms of like the hickory and oak restoration components and the fire adapted communities, that will definitely, that'll take a lot more time beyond probably, you know, our time here.
What species are you trying to reduce as poplar?
Yeah, so those that do come in easily is gonna be those maples and poplars. Yeah, they'll outcompete the hickory and oak before they can even get themselves together. Yeah, so what it is and then the oak, if you don't take them out, if you don't come in there and once the oak's starting to grow, and then my silviculturist could explain a lot better, but very straight. It's, if you don't do it in the right time, you've lost that oak pretty quickly. It won't be able to recover even if you go in and release it. And you're like, oh, well, now maybe give me a light and you can grow, but if it's already starting down the spiral, it won't be able to come back in. So yeah, hundreds of years ago, we would have had American chestnut, right? So we had a lot of mass producing trees and our hickory and oak. If you're a hunter, most hunters look at me and go, and so there's less, you're just seeing less of that just because of that restoration work we need to do. But in terms of the reducing the fuel loads, yes, as we keep doing those, it depends on the area, like beauty spot, we would have burned that in 2021. So yeah, that might be on like a 3 rotation, some might be 5 years. But if we have wildfire, you're already reducing those layers of, I'd say, lots of stuff, and rhododendron, that's the other big piece. All the rhododendron has really just grown in everywhere. And that's that piece that we're trying to burn out. If you've been over, it's closer to y'all, but Yancey County, that's that 7 Mile Ridge. It's over there where there's wildlife openings and hunting. You can see we just did that burn. This is our second year in 2 years, but yeah, some of the rhodo's already been killed back. So it's going to give some more opportunities for some of these species to come in. But yeah, it'll take some time, some commitment, and not everyone wants the same things. So that it makes it really hard for us in our collaborative process for sure. So
Is there a large portion of that restoration project focused on preserving like the hemlock trees and treating those against those?
yeah, hemlocks, that's a whole nother story. So we do treatments, since this EA is really focused on those fire adapted and forest communities. When we do prescribe burn, yeah, our silviculturist is looking if we do have hemlock in there, or even our botanist. And then we do make plans around trying intensity of our fire, so we're not burning those out. But yeah, there is areas across the Pisgah, we do treatments on those hemlocks, so we're not losing hemlocks. So there is a strategy around that, but not necessarily in this specific thing, but those are the types of things that, yeah, our FMO will work with our silviculturists prior to burns, and then we try to figure out, you know, what are concern issues here, or even if we've already done some investments with some timber sale improvements with oak and hickory to begin, we have that over in Madison County or Hot Springs. So we've already spent money doing releases, and the oaks aren't old enough, so we don't want to go in and burn them all out before they've been able to be there for a chunk of time to take the fire. So
What are you treating your hemlock with?
I don't know that specific, but I can get it for you. I can get that from our silviculturist. We do use another organization that does help us
Okay.
with that, but it's an injection. I just don't remember the exact name of what that chemical treatment is, but
I know
yeah.
at one time, I think first started was a horticultural oil treatment. It was non-chemical based.
Yeah, I think it doesn't have. I know we've had some questions over in the Big Ivy area in Buncombe County about it, and yeah, it's not the point. It's also safe around watersheds, and if the injection goes into the hemlock, it's not the treatment is not something that goes in and takes out and kills off watershed components. I know that was some questions for us. Or if it is injected in the hemlock, it doesn't necessarily, all the other trees around it don't take it all up and root into them, like kill off the trees that are around it. I think that was basically our new concerns. But there is a hemlock, can't remember their hemlock initiative. There's a civic group that's awesome that you can have pay for them to come out. I think they're actually a nonprofit, but they do actually do a lot of our treatments for us.
Is it a fungus or beetle killing this thing?
Insecticide.
It's a little black beetle. It's a super tiny. It's, you almost see it in a microscope. Yeah, they basically put those little white cotton balls. So if you look under the hemlock leaf, you'll see the little white tiny cotton ball, and then that's their eggs. And so as soon as you see those little white things underneath of their needle, you know that, you're done so. But yeah, it's just this little tiny black beetle, and it's very hard. You can do biocontrols. I actually sat and stared at them in microscopes in undergrad, but yeah, they have biocontrols out there, but none of them have necessarily been the most successful, or they just cause another issue to the ecosystem when you bring them in for it, but yeah. And then emerald ash borer is the other one that's taken out a lot of our trees, the ash trees.
Did they find a treatment for that?
No. No, there's nothing. It's, yeah, that's one of those sad ones that we could end up losing the ash tree in the end completely. So we don't have anything. Actually, no, I take that back. There are treatments, but there's no way that you could, there is a couple that we were doing. I forgot about that. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy we get some funding, and they are doing a few ash injections, but I wouldn't say it's something to, just like the hemlock, which ones are you deciding to save? It's not something that's just gonna be able to be like, yeah, you're good to go, kind of thing. Unfortunately, but yeah, those are probably our bigger ones right now.
And you say the ash borer identified in this area?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, emerald ash borer's been on ash trees all the way. I think it's finally, when I was up in New Hampshire and Maine working, I think it might have, since I've left, have been over the hump. It used to be killed out by temperature. It's your winters that would keep that ash borer abreast. But yeah, y'all down here, we've had it for quite some time. Yeah, if you go to 19E off the AT at Spivey Gap and you hike in the AT just a little bit we just have lots of dead standing ash with all the bark just all over the place for that one. But I'll move on, and like I said, I'll definitely give you all more information and you can check that out. And yeah, I'll come back and re-engage on that project as we're getting closer to a decision on it. But for the Road Mountain update, that's that Great American Outdoor Act. I know I came and told you guys about that. We were awarded close to $2 million to be used only on deferred maintenance. That's not necessarily new things, but because our infrastructure is aged and very much older, we were mostly focused that's up at the gardens area. So I know you all weren't able to have the pageants and have folks come up into the gardens this year. So I know that was hard, but it sounded like it worked out, and the shuttle that I heard was pretty successful that you all set up. And then it sounded like my staff worked with the pageant and they were able to go up to Round Ball and do a hike and stuff and check that out. So that's awesome. But we're making progress. That contractor's been up there. We're about 25% complete with the work up at the gardens. But to go over all the things, it's a new well and water line, paving road to the rhododendron gardens, including gardens, parking lot, and curbing, new sign plan, gardens visitor center, restroom building rehabilitation, high bluff overlook redecking, fencing replacement, culvert replacement, plumbing system repairs, and we're also going to be doing some trail maintenance improvements too, like on Cloudland trails and some of the other ones in that area. And then down at Carver's Gap, there is a few more things, and that's where I'm trying to see why. So down at Carver's, oh yeah, there it is. Carver's Gap, we already did that work where we put that gravel down right before you get to the Carver's Gap sign. You couldn't even like get your car up over it because it's so bad. We're still pushing on getting that paved. It's like a pending agreement with DOT to see if we can get DOT to do it, or for the contractor, it's gonna have to end up doing that paved portion. So that lot will be paved rather than that way it'll stay consistent parking in that area. But we will look to open that back up May 2025. That contractor's been working sometimes they're working 7 days a week. So they're going fast quickly. So I'll connect with you then, because we do plan on having some kind of ribbon cutting celebration for that area. I don't know if it'll make sense to tie it in with the festival, because typically we don't really open until the end of May because of the weather. I don't know, stay tuned. We'll see if it makes sense, but that'd be something cool that we could try to partner up with the festival, and then like saying, hey, it's not as flashy and big as like things because it's infrastructure that's underground, but there will be some renovations. And then I'll be talking to the Visitor Use Management Committee for Rhode Highlands about that building up the gardens. There's like the restroom, but there's another little area that could be occupied in some way, and we're still trying to leave that open to see if that's something that we can work with the community with, or the county with, to somehow figure out how we could use that space and connect y'all a little bit more. Tennessee side is also involved too in this, the Rhode Highlands BUM, so we've had some more participation on that side, which has been good. I say North Carolina's got more than the Tennessee side, but they are engaged in some ways. So, let's see. Yeah, the next thing that they're gonna be working on, because they've already have completed the work to the well, the water reservoir, the high bluff overlook, and road all is all in progress. But then they're gonna work on the well house construction, water line installation, and paving and asphalt resealing for those components. Moving out of that, so that's good news there. Progress is going forward. The Rhode Highlands Visitor Use Management Committee, we still meet every month. We've gained more members from different organizations like Friends of Rhone and a handful of others. I was on a detail for 120 days in the supervisor's office, so I've missed a couple more groups that have been added in, but there's definitely still passion about getting through our visitor use management process, which is 14 steps to figure out how to get to desired conditions and what management things we should be implementing to help get to that. But one item just for you guys to note, what you'd be wanting to be interested in, DOT did get a state ordinance passed to approve no parking signs along the road leading up to Carver's Gap. So we are going to be putting these parking signs, particularly on that side that I don't know how people ever park their vehicles there, but there's videos of it. Or they're parking and their cars are like this, like, looks like they're gonna flip over.
Like Jeeps and trucks.
Yeah, so it'll say no parking beyond this point. We have the signs at the Forest Service now. We just have to tie in with DOT to figure out the timing of that. And then the next bigger hurdle will be who's gonna help with enforcement components of it. Anyone from Forest Service or others can all ticket because it's a state ordinance. So it's gonna allow anyone to be able to ticket there. So we're still working through the parking chaos that's up there amongst lots of other things, and looking to figure out how to have a better sustainable trail going up to Roundbald. Some of Forest Service staff have been hunkered on that component of it, working with the Tennessee Eastern Hiking Community Club that maintains that section. But yeah, that's the skinny of there's lots of stuff going on, but those are probably like the main components in my mind that y'all would be interested in. So I'm happy I'll come back again at some point and give you guys some more updates as stuff progresses, but I'll send you that info. And then you can send it out to these folks as well.
Thank you.
Can I ask you one last question? Didn't know he's gonna get into all the different species. Seems like a while back I saw that there was an ongoing project to like revitalize the American chestnut. Is that something the Forest
Yeah,
Service?
it's always out there. People, I don't know, for most of my career, if not before, yeah, there's the American Chestnut Foundation. They're actually located, they have an office in Woodfin over there at Reynolds Mountain area, I think. But yeah, they're always out there. I don't particularly, well, not in the research side of it, but yeah, there's always someone trying to come up with a chestnut version that might survive. It hasn't been to the point where they've grown to where you could get really excited. But yeah, there's been, I think every state in the South, yeah, there's always someone very interested in slicing and figuring out some kind of hybrid that would be able to.
That's not some of the Forestry Services.
Yeah, we're not, the National Forest System side of the world is not as engaged with that. And I haven't heard from our research side. I'm sure there's people involved with it. But that American Chestnut Foundation is definitely the ones that are, like, if you check them out, they're the lead group that's really focused on that. We're just trying to keep above water and focus on some of the stuff we got going on. Just getting that oak and hickory back for us that's our biggest challenge right now.
Question for you, John. I know you had an A in biology. And that's
Maybe.
100%, that's 100% evident to me after your presentation, but this is just totally off the wall, question. So the northern long-eared bat, do you guys, do you have to deal with how does that? I'm doing this levy project where I work and we just got approval for the 500+1 to do on the northern I didn't know anything about the northern long-eared bat. I know a lot about it now. So how do these controlled burns affect that species of, how do you manage that, I guess?
Yeah, we end up working with, so US Fish and Wildlife Service is who we consult with. We have to go through a whole consultation process. Otherwise, it's complicated because we're in some like interim period where like this new bat conservation strategy came out and we're sort of in limbo land until they tell us how we can actually implement it. But we do have certain timelines and certain things. So during prescribed burning, once we hit the month of April,
Yeah.
then we supposedly they're settling and accepting, it's been changing on the temperature, but this year it was 50 degrees. So as long as it's not, I think, above those temperatures, I think it's like 50 degrees. We could go ahead, they won't, get killed out. And then we're trying to get down to 45 degrees, but we haven't had any issues when it's that time of the year for us for burning at the higher elevations. And then the other thing is we can't, cut trees during, what is it? Right now, we can't cut them, but starting in October, we can go back to cutting trees that come through March, but come April, then you have to be careful because it's the maternity roost.
So you still you're having to deal with.
Oh, yeah, we have,
through all the.
we have tons of bat stuff. There's the long-eared bat's not the only bat. There's other bats that are about to be listed. The tricolored bat will be listed shortly, if not soon. So, and there's the Virginia bat, and I thought there was a fourth one, but the one that's been on.
Like this little.
No, the long-eared bat's been it's all, anything we do, like even like, I was like, oh, we have to do a culvert replacement because we've had a culvert collapse over on the one road. I'm like, oh, we'll probably have to cut trees and. Yeah, we have a biologist that has to go and tell me the impacts, just like the botanist would have to tell me if there's any threatened endangered species. But once they get listed, we go through this whole thing.
Incorporated into the plan.
Yeah.
Get listed because of that white nose syndrome, is that what's caused?
Yeah, that's part of it. It's tied into that white nose syndrome.
Anybody else got any biology
Yeah.
questions? Sorry.
But the
That's my
decline, they get
curiosity.
listed once their populations are in a decline. So for instance, in the future, monarch butterfly, it's on the potential list. I don't know when that'll get listed, but that's one. Golden winged warbler is another one in our ecosystem areas in Near County. That could get listed at some point just because their populations are down. But there's ones that apparently I think it even gets political on like which ones move up faster than I don't know. There's the whole thing out of the fish and wildlife world. But we just monitor to see when they're getting listed and those types of things. Our specialists work with the supervisors. The Fish and Wildlife's in Asheville, so we consult with them on all our stuff. But they look through every burn. We're gonna roll through in the spring. They'll review it and then tell us, sign off on and tell us mitigation. It's design features or mitigations that we have to adhere to. But I think the maternity roost is a whole nother level, because if we're gonna go do construction, let's say on a road and cut out a bunch of stuff, you might need to have someone go check to make sure there isn't any roost in there that you're taking out. But up in Roan, it's your North Carolina, it's the Carolina flying squirrel. That's our threatened endangered species, and then you guys have the world's tiniest tarantula, and that's that spider moss tarantula. You can't ever see it, you wouldn't know it's there. It's under the moss, and if you rip the moss off, you destroy it. Anyways. So that's the two big, that's what we deal with up at Roan, just doing our construction to get through that. That's been a whole thing, because you can't cut the trees because literally those squirrels can't stand.
They're like the small spruce trees, don't they?
Yeah, it's the spruce and fir that y'all have up there, and that's, the fir is the one that's had some issues. Anyways, I'll come back another day, but spruce and fir restoration is on our docket. And that is our world that we focus on, that's up on the road area, but
Well, thank you for entertaining this curiosity.
I'm very, bats, we're like bats. So I hear you. But I'll send Alan that info. Thanks y'all for having me.
You guys gonna do need to raise this before the. You guys good? All right, guys, moving on. Reports and presentations. We'll go into our board reports. Clayton, do you have any maintenance?
Well, I do have a couple of things to report on the housing association. I received an email this past week, that the gentleman who kind of founded it, who was over at Ned Fowler, he passed away, so it's room for him and his family, please. That'll be big shoes to fill. Also, the library board, we had met. We have hired an associate librarian who's supposed to start on August the 12th. So, other than that, that's.
Well, thank you. Jeff, you got any board reports?
Yes. Busy month. Met with county manager, EMS and 911 new system administrator. About a 2.5 hour meeting, it was a very good meeting, a lot of positive discussion. If you've not met the new system administrator, he's law enforcement and paramedic. And I think it's gonna be a very positive fit for us. Had a chamber meeting, topic there was the gym show. And then they also did top to the toe 5K. It appeared that the gym show was very successful. I've not heard any numbers yet, both attendees and all the financials, but looking at the parking lot outside, it looked like it was very well attended.
And I volunteered Saturday morning in 2 hours, we done 368 volunteers
Really,
in 2 hours.
there was a lot of positive feedback on the food line complex. Both vendors and attendees were very happy with that because of the layout parking. So, shout out to Great Meadows for allowing the chamber to use that facility at no charge and actually do a little bit of upfitting. So the Fire Association last, joint meeting with, I think it was in July on with, housing. Meeting, yes, was, had a lot of players in the game. Corpse was there, and Wellness was there, Golden Leaf was there. Corpse was there, Jody Lovelace with, Small Credit Service was there, and we got a wealth of knowledge from Mr. Lovelace and his agency that we're not using or that we weren't aware of. But identified that, about the housing situation that we have, not only workforce housing, but affordable housing and high-end housing. I mean, it touched all the possibilities and, MCHP was there. MCHP is gonna be a huge player possibly in the game because of the property that they have acquired that they may be willing to work with a developer. And this is probably not gonna happen next year or 2 years. It's gonna take a little while for that to transpire. But very, very good meeting. Attended the opioid meeting at Tractor last week. Yancy and Mitchell's representation of Yancy Mitchell was my first meeting, so they broke out into breakout sessions, so I just sort of popped around to get more information on what each breakout session group was discussing and doing, and there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. A lot of committed people. There was a lot of good, very good ideas as far as maybe getting some material into the school system. On a handout or a possible board where students could say, okay, if you have a crisis situation, drug, or you're having suicidal thoughts or anything, here's the hotline number you can call. You know, that would be readily available. And then the last, county manager and myself went to the Fire Association meeting. I got some training going on. I know the Ledger Fire Department was working on accreditation to lower its ranking. I think that was happening here pretty quick. Tim was anxious. He was anxious but positive.
I saw him up there at the, I was up with my dog walking in traffic. He come over and saw me and said that they had the inspection, I guess this month, is it right? This,
Think so.
yeah.
Did you tell your dad?
I told him yet, that,
You gonna wait?
yeah, I'll wait till it gets approved before I offer any information. But folks in Ledger, you got something to look forward to, I believe.
But anyway, along at that meeting, county manager and myself got our backsides chewed on a little bit. And the folks that spoke to us, it all concerned funding and resources. And was basically said that the county commissioners have lied. Oh, is that correct, Alan? Am I saying that correct?
Misinformed, July, somewhere in that range.
So I tried to seek a little clarification on that, and be honest with you guys, was upset that, sitting there being accused of misinformation or lying. But I think it boiled down to some alleged promises and of more money and different things, so Alan and I talked probably a couple days after that. And one of the points was, when the revow was done, I don't know if y'all remember this, it was recommended that we cut fire tax rate to 3.5 from 7. And the purpose of that being was concern of the citizens being upset over paying additional taxes, and we left it at 7. Now, I don't know if they thought that we cut it to 3.5 where it was left at 7, but I've got a sheet of paper here the county commissioner shared with me, and I'm not going to break it down by each department by any means. But the actual money in 2021 that the fire departments received was $1,060,970.29. That was the actual amount of money that came in to the fire tax and was distributed to the departments. The actual as of 2023, 2024 was $1,438,647.69. So from 2021 to 2023, 2024, believing that rate alone, there's been an increase of right at $400,000 additional money. But now also in saying that, they're like everybody else. They're filling with blood, cost of product, cost of merchandise, fuels, tires, equipment. And, some departments are struggling with, and this is nationwide. This is not Mitchell County, just Mitchell County with volunteers. So, Steve, you and I started on the association together. We got you pretty good at that. 6 years ago, we got it our backside. I come out wearing this size pair of pants. We talked about a solution for 6 years and they're trying to figure it out, look at every avenue, and I don't know if there are any avenues, but invited them to come up with a plan. I think when we left, didn't we, Alan? Come up with a plan. Come to the commission board, let's sit down and talk. We're all concerned about the same situation. But just wanted to make y'all aware that they were upset, and we got you pretty hard, especially now. So, and I took it. Okay. So that was my busy month of July, about 5 meetings, not counting what we do otherwise. So thank you, Chairman.
All right. Brandon?
I didn't have a meeting last month, so.
Yeah, well, Dr. Boyd covered everything with mailing there. I don't think I can add anything to what he offered. I wasn't able to go to, no, I did go to Spruce Pine Main Street. The biggest talk there was around the gym festival and getting things going, trying to help with that. So nothing that sticks out to me from the Main Street meeting. I did attend the High Country Workforce Consortium meeting.
And one thing we do have to do as a board, and we probably need to think about, is getting somebody on the, right now, we've only got one representative. We typically have two. Scott Reese, he retired his position, so I've got to, and I've talked to a lot of different people to try to figure out who that person is gonna be. I've got a couple of folks that sounded interested, because I don't wanna put somebody on that board that's not gonna be,
If I can't get them.
yeah, can't fully participate, and so, they told me they would let me know something this month. I won't mention their names, over here, just, but, got a couple of folks that sounded interested, the consortium's meeting, I want to say it's meeting every. So I'm make sure I'm telling the right thing. Yeah, the next meeting is September 12th, and so September 12th, November 14th, January 9th, March 13th, and May 8th, so it's about every, 2 to 3 months that the consortium meeting. The biggest thing that came out of this meeting, they had a presentation on artificial intelligence and what that looks like in the state of North Carolina, and how businesses are gonna be, what they think is gonna be impacted by it. I think a lot of people don't really know what.
Do you use any AI extra show?
Piles of it, yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's the wave of the future, so. I mean, we're looking at humanoids, these little like robot people that do things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's very like. Ain't gonna need us eventually, but
My 10-year-old uses it to write stories about himself, and subjects that, I mean, he does it for hours. So I'm just really about this. It's
Yeah.
amazing stuff.
they presented a really nice presentation about businesses, and they're conscientious of it, local industry, and trying to help maybe bridge that gap for people that really don't know what that looks like going into the future. So that was one of the biggest talking points of that meeting. So, like I say, I should have an answer this month from one of the folks that I talked to. So hopefully we'll have somebody that we can make a nomination for. But I'm going to, so.
Good deal. Christie, did you make a note? We need to make sure we put somebody in the press. Thank you. I attended a few different meetings, this month. I'm excited to announce that they have again the construction and radio to, redesign that. It looks like they had dug up and there's gravel underneath, so that's exciting. It's a little bit of a, traffic jam, so I would advise going through Fort Mountain versus Radio if you can. As far as our TDA, Kelly Jones has been super busy. She's been trying to get ads out everywhere. So this was in our High Country magazine, and I went ahead and flagged it for you guys. So there you go. There you go. So that was one of the most recent ads that she did that went into the High Country magazine. And she's gonna have, or she had some for the Mineral and Gem Festival. And then this copy of the Destinations Uncovered the Valley, which is a publication of the Metro News Journal. She did do one in there as well, and it's on this front page, and I'll pass that around. If you guys wanna look at that, but the big one in the High Country was her and Spencer worked on that, and so. They are doing really, really good, between Matt and Kelly and Spencer. They are like a dynamic trio, so they do lots of good stuff. I sat down and look at that. But she said to give you guys a copy of those. So that's nice.
That's really good.
Another project that she's working on right now is QR codes, and they are magnets, so there'll be 5x7 magnets that can go on any short-term rental refrigerator. And so that QR code is going to automatically go to the TDA website. And she can see how many people, like where they're from, and they're going to look at that. And then as well as the stickers. So if there's anybody that wants any, if you know anybody that's a short-term rental, please let her know so she can get those. They should be in any time. And go ahead and mark your calendars for October the 4th. That is the High Country Banquet. I spoke to Miss Julie today, and she said, go ahead and get that on your agendas. They will be sending the invitation out, but I did want to go ahead and give you guys enough notice to get that on your calendar. Also in your board packet, I have given Christy a copy of the area plan on aging, and so that is some information we received at our last High Country meeting. And there was just a lot of information in there that I thought was kind of interesting. So it is in there in addition to, I was hoping I meant to remind him about the animal shelter, but the new design and location for the joint animal shelter was also in your packets. And so if you have any questions about that, Alan should be able to, answer those. Him and Philip are talking all the time and working on it, and hopefully this second, site that they've selected will be more adequate, to do what they need. So looking forward to that. Let's see here. I believe that they did say that the project now is gonna be a little bit more expensive, so it would be about $2 million. And correct me if I'm wrong,
That
but
site selection is, since the first site didn't work out, and they're having to go site selection again. And the basic needs of the facility have kind of
changed a little bit, so. I did attend, and I think Jeff, you were there too. We both went and listened to the citizens about their input in what they think. Should go into Dean and Harris. There was a lot of good ideas. I know that, Starley was there and she had talked, and then, the gentleman from the town, they were there. They were just there to listen. There was some really good ideas, some points of concern. So that was really good to listen to. And I had spoke to the school board, Brandon, and he said that they are doing their ribbon cutting this week, so that is August the 8th for anybody that wants to go. I won't be able to go because I'll be in Winston-Salem at the commissioner conference, but if anybody can go, that would be really good. You're not going to Winston-Salem,
If I do, I'll be just one day, I'll be
Okay.
Friday.
so it would be good to have some county representation there. And then they also are gonna be doing their community open house, so for anybody on the live stream or anybody in the audience, that is August the 16th is what, Miss Jennifer Gregory had told me. So if anybody wants to go and check out the new school, I think they were gonna shoot for maybe around 5-ish, so she's gonna make an announcement about that. But that's something else to go ahead and put on your calendars. And then the last thing was a little bit of an update about the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. The annual conference is this week, so I don't know if anybody else is planning on driving down, but they have a lot of good seminars. A lot of it's focused around AI and housing. There was one segment that has to do with fire departments, so if you're down there on that day, that might be a good one for you to hit. So I'm looking forward to that. I was nominated by my friend up in Ashe County, Todd McNeil. He did nominate me to serve as the District 14 representative for the Association of County Commissioners. And so that district covers Mitchell, Yancey, Avery, Wilkes, Watauga, Ashe, and Allegheny. And so I look forward to building those relationships. Everybody in our whole district are good people. And I think we all have a pretty good working relationship. And so the last thing, and you guys probably had it in your email, check your spam because sometimes it does go there. But there is a 2024 end of session report. And so this is from the legislative short session. And so I think it was revised in July 2024. There are several different things on there that I thought were kind of interesting that did become law this session. And some of the most important ones I thought that kind of jumped out to me was the North Carolina Farm Act. So if you guys want to read about that at all.
Who's that email from, Holden?
The Association of County Commissioners, and if you didn't get it, I'll forward it to you. But it's a good way just to get a good summary of everything that has went through. Let's see, the Farm Act. There was something else that passed, election law changes. I thought that was kind of interesting. And that was the two big ones that I know have come into effect. And then Some of them are still kind of in limbo. But a couple of them specifically about, DSS, so that one was kind of interesting, was the child welfare. And so there was a few things in there stating that the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services are gonna start, advocating that DSS boards get adequate training and education and all of that. So I think the implementation period for that is around 2027, so there's plenty of time to get that done. But that was something else that had stuck out to me, and then there was a Senate bill in regards to broadband. And it changed, the grants a little bit, so if any of you are interested in that, I know Dennis from Avery County, they're big on the broadband right now, so he will probably need to read things. And then there was one more, but I can't remember what it is, but I'll forward that to you guys if things don't have it, some good reading material. And then Jeff, to answer your question. So July of 2023 to June of this year, Malin has paid $14,110.38 occupancy tax.
How much?
$14,110.38. So,
Thank you.
I don't know if that helps, and I do have a breakdown, from July of 2023 through June, if you want that.
Yeah.
So July of 2023, that was $1,473.83. And ending with this past June, it was $2,965.84. And so I'll give you that whole list if you want, but it did come to a total of $14,110.
Get a chance just to email it to me.
Okay, I will
Thank
send
you.
that to you, but that was the number that you had asked for that I could spout off the top of my head pretty quick. And, I think that's all of it. If you have any questions about the occupancy tax or anything, you're more than welcome just to go to the finance office. Kelly gets all of that information too, so I don't know when Kelly's in or out. But they can get all of that information and give you a comparison of what the other short-term rentals. So.
Does that list include the payee and the amount?
Yes. And so the only problem with it is, like all your Airbnbs are kind of lumped in as one, like an Airbnb total. It doesn't break out your Airbnbs or your.
Individual.
Mhm. But if you've got your Pine Valley, Blue Ridge Boutique Hotel,
And
Any
that's
of those-
first time in. I'm interested in that.
yeah, Alan, that's how I'll do
Yeah,
you.
you'll have to task me on that, and I'll have to. I'm sure
I
you're
think-
I'm
finance
sure you're
officer.
gonna meet a new manager about every time you go in there, this is about every 6 to 8 weeks. So you're gonna have to re-instruct the new manager about the occupancy tax.
So I know that Kelly is actively like.
I know it's paid one time.
It was paid once,
So I know it's all-
but I can't.
After
speak
that.
to it since, so,
You know, I'm just gonna say, hey guys, what's fair for one is fair for all.
yes.
I mean, that's the gist of it. And they're collecting it, so if you're collecting it, pay it. It's your obligation.
The day it's seven minutes.
All right, we'll move on to items for discussion. And item 10A tonight is a resolution authorizing about the Kroger opioid settlement and approving the second supplement agreement for the additional funds. And so that resolution was in the board packet. Anybody in the audience or anybody on the live stream would like a copy of that, feel free to email Alan and he will be more than glad to get that for you. And so, do we have any discussion tonight about that from the board? Hearing none, we will either need a motion to move forward.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jeff. All in favor? Vote by using sign. Okay. Was that a yes, Brandon?
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't see. All right. Motion carries. Item 10B is going to be the opioid settlement fund discussion. And so Alan or anybody, do you have anything that you would like to specifically
I want to start us out on that. So the opioid settlement funds discussion was an email I sent to the commission board and a discussion we had at the last meeting, because as we work through the opioid funds, there's a lot of process involved with how those funds are allocated. So today, I want to go around at the end of this discussion to each commissioner and ask what maybe their priority for spending, where their priorities might be. Maybe give me your top three, or give the citizens your top three. And I know y'all are accessible and open to what your citizens, have their ideas in mind. But I want to start out with, is Linda, I want to start out with some talking about the study and just giving some of the high points of that study and some key statistics, followed up by Christy Young with finance. He's going to talk about the process and the audit involved. And I want, on the live stream, I want our citizens to know that, it's not just handing over some money. It's actually a study and some research and some audits. It's audited by the Department of Justice. So we're going to get into that today, and it'll take a little bit of time, but I think, we want to fire that first shot in the opioid discussions, and maybe that's what's happening right now. So Glenda, take it
All
away.
right, great, thank you. Good afternoon. It's great to be back with you guys about this topic. I really appreciate the opportunity, and in your packets, you did receive an overview of some of the stats. As you may recall, we were fortunate as a county, we received a grant from Dogwood Health Trust. And from that, we conducted a two-part assessment and study in regards to what the needs of Mitchell County really looks like. So the first one, we started in March of 2023. And then that continued through April of 2024, which both of the presentations have been presented to you. They are also still available on the Mitchell County website on the drug page. A lot of data, absolutely a lot of information to absorb, to go through. But where I want to focus on this evening is in addition to a couple of stats that I think that as a refresher is very important to mention to everyone tonight, is the first one being that 54% of the Mitchell County residents said their lives have been negatively affected by their own or someone else's substance use. So if you think about that, more than our county has been touched by substance use. And I think we all will agree that, this is definitely an issue, has been an issue for a while, and will continue to be an issue because it's not, there's not any one solution to resolve this. But I also want to say, in regards to the grant that we received, the first part was the Mitchell County Needs Assessment, which was existing data compiled from a wide variety of sources, such as the North Carolina Opioid Dashboard, North Carolina Health and Human Services, U.S. Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, substance abuse and mental health issues, and so forth. So that's where we've gotten really down into some good data for our region. That's important for people to take a few minutes to read through those reports. Also, part two of the study, and this is where it is so important, I think, for people to understand that this information from the part two study, which was a community learning process, and it really was intended to take a deeper dive of hearing from the community, let the community to participate and provide their input. And the community members that did participate, it was targeted for those that had a lived experience with substance use. And from that is where we got the information of saying, okay, what our county needs maybe the most. Okay, the list is long, there's no doubt about that. And everyone has to be realistic that we cannot address the entire list of all the different things. But however, the areas that you guys do decide to focus on, that was the whole intention of conducting this project, was really to say, okay, what are some of our true needs based on what the community, because I feel strong that we need the buy-in of the community, because this project, we cannot do it alone. It's going to take all community members from all different areas to focus and work on the substance use issue that we currently have. So from the stories that we collected of those that had a lived experience, I want to just take a few minutes and really provide a shout out to all of those that participated in this project. It was a lengthy project. It was a very in-depth project, but without the individuals being Dogwood Health Trust, the project was facilitated by a Western North Carolina Health Network, as well as we had an advisory group made up of over 20 individuals with professionals, with individuals that either work around substance use every single day or that they are an addict themselves. So we've got a wide variety of input around the matters of substance use. So I just really want to shout out on behalf of Mitchell County to say thank you for all of those individuals, because obviously without that study and more information, I think it would be a little harder for you guys to make some decisions on the areas that maybe you really want to spend that funding on. So again, a big shout out to those, and especially our community partners. There were so many that came to the table that only enhances right now what individuals' resources we do have, which we want to build upon, of course. But by connecting those community partners, then individuals have more and a larger network of saying, where can I help individuals get help? And that really opened that door. And to piggyback on Jeff's comment with the Mitchell Yancey Substance Use Task Force has kind of taken that lead of saying, okay, we're going to keep this momentum going, and we're going to keep these community partners still getting together and have that 3 to 5 year vision on what they can do to contribute, with this issue. So I want to just touch on quickly in regards to the insights that was received, by the community through our project. And all of these that I'm going to touch upon is what you have in your packet as well. But they do fall under the option A of the MOA. So I'll just list through those, guys. And I know you've taken the time to take a look at not just the reports type of thing, but the stats that have been included in the report. But when you guys will be making your decisions, when you think about information such as 73% of our children in Mitchell County DSS custody are due to substance use by a parent or a caregiver. I mean, that's kind of eye-opening, in addition to the 54% I spoke about of our residents, including many of us in this room, have been touched by substance use. So I'll get to the list on, again, this is what the community has indicated that they feel from all the stories that was collected and from analyzing all those stories, which took a lot of people to do that. Provide basic needs and safety. What does that look like? That can be everything from transportation, housing, employment, affordable daycare, safety from violence, and so forth. Safe places for people to seek support. The next one, start intervention early with our children. 24 hours crisis. That could look like, mental health center that offers a walk-in component for 24-hour support. That is something we don't have. That was a lot of feedback that, okay, at 5 o'clock, everything shuts down. I don't know where to go, or I don't have a place to go for support after hours, right? So that 24-hour crisis is critical. Support, resources, and opportunities for healing to individuals and families. As we all know, someone on substance use or is abusing substance use is impacting the families. It's not just the individual, it's impacting the children, all individuals close to them. And what could that look like? It's meaning less stigma. That is an issue that was brought up through much input from the community, more treatment options, peer support. All right, the next one, recovery efforts for both addicts and their families and their kids, meaning recovery meetings, groups. We have some of these available to us, but it's not enough, right? There needs to be more. And this is going to take efforts from the community, from our schools, from our churches, from organizations involvement as well. So again, it's all of us that's going to have to contribute to this issue. More mental health support, particularly for certain groups of people that currently face obstacles assessing care, children and youth, people interacting with social services and so forth. The next one is transitional support for people leaving treatment or incarceration, meaning reentry into society, because they get into that vicious cycle. They just need food, they need shelter, they need a dry place, they need a safe place. So it's that cycle of saying, okay, I get arrested, I go in, then I get released, I do something to go back because I need my basic needs met, right? And that could mean a wide variety. Reentry into society could mean things like specific support to help people connect to housing, transportation, employment, educational resources, mental health support, as well as peers and a broader community that supports a lifestyle of wellness and recovery. And then more treatment options. Okay, what does that look like? You know, that's detox, that's treatment facilities, inpatient, outpatients, and so forth. But really, we need more of those locally, because right now, you know, people are having to drive well over an hour to get certain treatment when it comes to trying to get clean. So again, it is a big list, and the dynamics of substance use situations vary in complexity. And again, it's going to take all of us, I think, to help to improve this problem in our community. So the reports, if anyone would like a copy, you know, they are very detailed, a lot of information. This is on our website. I have copies if anyone needs a copy of the community learning guided process, or if indeed the Mitchell County opioid plan and needs assessment. This is another good report that's very regional. And again, the data was compiled by many different resources within Mitchell County for sure. So with that, I just really wanted to, as a refresher, since it's been a couple of months, you know, since we've seen the report and had the presentation from Western North Carolina Health Networks and so forth, and the team that came here to support that was very close to this project. I just want to say thank them again, and thank you guys for allowing them to participate in this project. So at this time, I'll turn it over, I guess, to Christy for part 2 of this. So, but thank you very much for listening, everyone. Appreciate it.
Hey, I get to the not so fun part about this. So Mavis allowed me to go down to the finance conference week before last. And I had the opportunity to meet with NCACC, which ended up giving us a great resource as far as giving us some help as far as this opioid settlement money. So Alan and myself and Allison was able to have a conference call with them the other day, which gave us tons of information on the reporting requirements that's going to be with this money. And it's going to be pretty vigorous. It's something that's not as simple as just saying we've got such and such amount of money in the bank and this is the interest is earned, this is what we've paid out. It's pretty vigorous. We're going to have to do impact statements, and we're going to have our plans approved. So first of all, in that conference call, they talked about the option A, option B, and in our original memorandum of understanding, we had chosen option A. In talk with Department of Justice and NCACC, we can add option B and work alongside with option A. But in talking with these ladies, they said 77 out of 79 counties are using option A. And the reason that they're choosing that is the reporting guidelines and such are a whole lot easier right now. Now, that's not to say later on that we can't add option B to it. I mean, we've got 18 years of this money coming down, and we can add it at any time. But there is some things that goes with that. And NCACC, I'll go back to this first of all. When we decide a plan and how we're going to spend it, NCACC has given us the option to run it through them and let them vet it out before we send it on to Department of Justice, because they said that Department of Justice can throw it out. And we don't want to start spending these funds and then maybe they disallow something we've chosen, and then the county would be liable for those funds. So we need to make sure that we're vetting this out and making sure that it's going to be
plans that they're gonna approve, because we don't want the county being liable for any of these monies that we might spend out. So there's something called a local spending resolution that we're gonna be required to do. And in that local spending resolution, that's gonna give us, the strategy that we have. So that means if you choose to, fund Narcan, that would go under, option A, and that would be the item that you would use in that exhibit. We would decide how much money that we're going to use for that particular thing, and then we're going to have to put that expenditure down on that local spending resolution. So that would be like one. So if you chose 2 or 3 options, all those things have to go on this local spending resolution. We have to put the period that we're going to be spending it in, and that has to be approved by Department of Justice. So it's not as simple as saying, hey, guys, we want to spend it on this, this, and this. It is a process. And if you so choose, say, hey, I want to add another strategy to this, then we have to go back and we have to adopt another local spending authorization resolution. So just want to give you guys an idea. This is not a process that's going to happen overnight. We've got to come up with some ideas, then we have to turn around and we need to let NCACC vet it out for us before we submit a plan to the Department of Justice. So just want to give you some ideas on that. And then also, talk to them a lot about subrecipients of this money. Like if we so choose that we wanted to, use nonprofits or whatnot. They said that that's also involves a long process. We need to do an application process that, we do a request for applications. So we put it out like would do a request for bids for things. So we put it out, you would advertise that. Then those applications would come back and we'd have a review process. The board would review those applications. You know, you'll need to make sure that there's not a conflict of interest with anybody sitting on a board on these particular organizations, just to make sure that you know, we're vetting those out. And then a contract must be executed. So we would have a process of, we would look at these contracts. It would have to be pre-audited by the finance department. You know, an attorney would be involved as far as looking at these things. So just wanted to kind of update you guys on that and let you know that it's a rigorous process as far as allocating these funds. So when you're thinking about this, and how you want to strategize using this money, just think about it is going to be a process. I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to be, they were saying around 3-month process. If you decide what you want to spend it on, then going through the process of NCACC, looking at it, submitting it to North Carolina Department of Justice. And then if you do have subrecipients, then we're going to have to do that request for applications.
So is it more rigorous, Christie, for a nonprofit?
Yes, sir. It sure is.
Christie, talk about the reimbursement piece of that too.
Yes, and they also discussed the fact that if we do so choose to do a nonprofit or, you know, fund a certain organization, that we need to do it on a reimbursement basis. Don't fund that money up front and not have any results. We want to see some reporting, because there is impact reporting that we have to do on each organization. They want to see that they're doing what they're supposed to do with this money.
How often do you have to submit your impact report? Is it quarterly?
Once a year.
Just once a year.
Mhm. As of right now. And this stuff can change.
So it's a little similar to what, sound like it's a little similar to what, the juvenile justice and confirmation
A
does.
lot of the same, yeah. Yeah,
With how they allocate funding to their programs.
exactly. Yeah. And also, I did ask this question. I said, okay, we know that we're gonna have this money coming down over a period of 18 years. Do we have to have this money allocated and spent within the 18 years? And they said, no, ma'am. They said, as long as we have money in that fund, that we can run it to the end. Of course, you continue to report on it as long as we've got money, but that doesn't, just because it's an 18-year process, doesn't mean we have to spend all that money in 18 years. So, but anytime, I mean, the plan can be adjusted at any time. You can add extra strategies. It's just, we have to go back to that local spending authorization resolution that has to be resubmitted to North Carolina or Department of Justice, and they have to approve those new strategies.
So anything that's implemented, before November, will that be grandfathered in? Is that like a forward question? Or is it subject to change based on whoever is elected in November?
So the question is, if we go ahead and spend things now, we get
Would
reimbursed?
it be, no, if we made a decision on, like, could they, would be grandfathered in on any decisions that we made? If somebody new, or when somebody new goes into that office, can they just come in and say, no, that actually doesn't qualify?
If it's already been approved by the Department of Justice,
They
they would
can't
have,
go back.
they'd have to honor that approval. If you wish to change your allocation, it has to go back for reapproval and might be subject to different guidelines from the
Okay.
Department of Justice.
And unfortunately, NCACC, the group that works on this, they said you submit this and pretty much no news is good news. In lack of better terms, that you won't hear from them unless there's a problem with it. So they're saying, you know, we're working with this, we've got experience with this, please, please, please let us help you. We're here to help you and let us look at your plan, make sure everything's lining up, because we don't want it being submitted and them disallow something.
From the seminars I've attended, I think all of the smaller counties and municipalities are choosing the option A just because the option B reporting requirements essentially requires the government to have a dedicated staff that are doing nothing but this. So, for example, the city of Durham has, I think, a department of one attorney and 3 paralegals, and all they do is this project for the option B reporting requirements. So option A is your preferred method from finance and legal aspects.
Absolutely. And I enclosed in your packets some, just some statistics. And I also give you a copy of the local spending resolution form, just so you kind of see what it's gonna look like, what we're gonna have to, the work that's gonna be in it before we can move forward on spending this money. That we're looking, according to them, at least about around a 3-month process before we can start allocating funds. Any questions?
Chris, I didn't listen to the call, but if I remember correctly, when we budget this money or we choose a plan that's approved, that's only for that year. This is something that'll have to get budgeted every year. In other words, I don't think you can, and Four may know, can we commit to a multiple year funding plan with an organization, say, or is it gonna have to be something that will have to be reallocated each year?
It will have to be reallocated each year because board of commissioners can't bind a future board in those items. So we can have a multi-year plan with an organization, but we would want to write our agreement that it is subject to
Each
funding
year.
allocation from the board of commissioners for that. So we can intend to do that, but without a crystal ball, we'll have to put that language in there.
And the fact that the funding is changing daily. It's hard to know what our funding stream is gonna be from year to year, so I guess that's one thing I'd like for people to understand is, you know, I don't think anybody has a crystal ball. We don't know how much money we're gonna get. We don't even know when we're gonna get it. So you can only allocate or spend what you have currently in the bank. We can't spend future money that we don't have yet because those funds may or may not materialize.
It is a moving target and there's additional litigation that's still pending that could result in additional funds or not result in additional
Right.
funds. So it's certainly a moving target and I don't think the state has told anyone what their specific allocations are going to be, even though we have signed on to a number of settlement agreements.
In that spending resolution that we were talking about, it will be for a budget year. That's what that will indicate on that form. Okay. So.
A lot of reporting.
All right, up next, around the room. We kind of want to get a fix as the administrative suite of the county to kind of find consensus in this board on where, and by saying priority funding, you don't have to necessarily have a specific program that you want it going to, but maybe a general area, and we'll try to hone in with you over the next month or so, get some ideas. So We can, we'll turn it over to the chair.
I've done a lot of thinking about this, and, you know, my mind may change from day to, you know, week to week, or year to year, per se. But for me personally, my main focus is prevention. And so I don't 100% know what that looks like, but I would. We've had multiple conversations, you know, with the schools or kids that have been, you know, exposed to drugs or something to that effect. So I don't know if that looks like adding social workers or counselors or funding something for these children that are coming through the COVID era. And they obviously have some mental health stuff going on based off of, I think, was it NC Child, Jeff, that we went to that meeting? So, you know, there was a lot of conversation about that. So that for me personally, I would like to see social workers, counselors, or whatever in the schools. If there's any equipment out there that can help identify drugs for, you know, that's something for Dawn to talk to, and Josh. If there's any sort of equipment that can, if a child does overdose, for me, I would like to explore those options and see the cost or what all that entails. And then something that we talked about probably about 4 years ago, and this may not even be something that is doable, feasible. But when I first came on the board, we had kind of talked about a community paramedic. And so since the agenda came out, you know, that's kind of about the three areas that are important to me, or I think that could benefit everybody. But my main focus is prevention, and then helping our kids, because if you don't start with the kids and get the education out there, or, you know, give them resources they need when they're younger, then they're already behind the 8 ball. So that's mine.
Thank you.
I'll kind of follow up on hers since mine's very similar. I'm kind of worded like early intervention and public awareness. You know, starting with young adults, young students, kids. And then I would kind of turn it toward families in general. Just beyond that. And if I would put a third one there, I some kind of safe haven, some kind of safe number. And that could be, you know, for students as well as families in general, so. That's not necessarily just for an adult, it's kind of family oriented, family focused. But definitely early intervention and public awareness.
Well, I think we're all sort of on the same first topic. Being selected to sit in on the meeting. Hear what the folks had to say. This will go back to Harley and Clayton. Everybody that spoke there got started in school. Okay. It all started in school. There was bullying. They didn't feel accepted. There was no home life. So they found somebody they could fit in with. So I'm gonna go along with these two. I think our young people, but I'm gonna carry it one step further and go a little bit more intense. I think we need to have a classroom setting. And this is actually taught. Just like you get taught PE or biology or whatever it may be. And I don't know how long that would be. Whether that's a semester, half a semester, a month. And my recommendation would be any child enrolled in Mitchell County Schools, 6th grade through 12th, has to take this class by an instructor that gives them knowledge of this and scares the hell out of them. Because this is life, this is death. There's no in between. no drug user or anybody that chooses tobacco or chooses alcohol chooses to get addicted by that. But that's where we're at. So in this classroom setting, I'll say, okay, we're gonna cover the use of tobacco. Because that's the first gateway drug they're gonna use, smoking, dipping, chewing. Alcohol. Then you go on to a little bit harder drugs. And the biggest problem we have right now is vaping. Statistics show that 70% of our high school kids that go to Mitchell County High School vape on a regular basis, and they're underage. But they still do it. And those vapes can have any type of substance in it. And these kids have no idea what's in this thing. We've had a couple of overdoses that had to be transported because of what was in the vape. Okay. Now, state law is not going to pass a law to do anything about vaping. I'm going to tell you, I've already talked about that. There's multiple issues. So it's like Linda said, this is a community thing. This is a commissioner thing. It's a Board of Education thing. It's a church thing. Come on, churches, if you want to help, get on board with the program and quit worrying about what color your carpet is. Worry about what's happening in your community to people's lives. Okay? And I don't mean to get a little bit wiggly here, but I'm really compassionate about this. Okay, I actually talked to an individual this morning. Just conversation. Didn't know where their child was at for 9 days. Hadn't seen him. Came home, needle marks. Didn't know if it's fentanyl or heroin. Great kid. Great relationship with the parents. Has an addiction problem. This parent was heartbroken. And beat down. And didn't know where to turn or where to go. And this child that had been missing for 9 days, they have children of their own. And the children are not old enough to recognize that the parent is not here. The parent's gone. The parent comes back, appears to be beat up, but it's breathing convulsions. So, that's my soapbox here. And two other areas, mental health. We have no resources for mental health that tie into this. And one of the third things that they said, where do we go? Where do we call to get help? We're crying out, or a dad's crying out because the son has gone overboard, but will actually won't help. What do you got? Well, nobody knows what we got. So we need a 24/7 local hotline. And that somebody will answer that would be local, that has all the information that you need, that involves this. And then there's another one, and I didn't realize this until our opioid planning session at Tractor was re-entry. And I also ran into a gentleman there that I've known 30+ years. Didn't have any idea what he did now since he retired from probation and parole, but his name was Mr. Link Vance. Link Vance is associated with Freedom of Life. And it started down in Marion. And they provide housing, workforce, accountability, counseling. So this commissioner personally would like to hear from Freedom of Life and what they have to offer, because we may not have to reinvent the wheel. It may be already there for us and offer resources that we desperately need that we don't know where to find. But you know, guys, our county, our state, our nation is in trouble. And our young people are dying. And the people that are addicts can't function. And we had a retired law enforcement gentleman lose his life 2 days after he retired because of the situation. And I mean, we're a small Mitchell County with a small amount of dollars to spend, so whatever choices we make, we gotta get it right or try to get it right. And we're not gonna get it 100% right. But I'm gonna say again, community, hey, step up. Come on, this is your responsibility too. I'm done.
Thanks.
He does also a lot of good stuff. I mean, I can think for myself personally, I lost my first cousin to heroin. He's 30, I don't even know how old he was, 30, born 92. That was 5 years ago, Logan Pittman. And he had been in jail, got out, got a hit, and it killed him. I guess his tolerance level had changed. My brother-in-law spent a year in jail, with drugs, so I 100% agree that there's not anybody that's not touched by this probably in this room, that you can't have a friend or somebody, and so for me, I agree with you. I think about the kids, and that's my biggest concern, is having a daughter that's 10 years old. I mean, the stuff, it's not like when I was a kid and, somebody say, hey man, you wanna smoke a joint? Okay, yeah, I'll try that out. I've never done that before. And okay, that was that. I didn't do that, by the way, until I was older in life, but, it's, when I was a kid, but, what is it, did it hail, is that no,
Wave it down.
yeah. But I really, I really worry about kids because, I mean, this fentanyl stuff, I mean, John can tell you everything you wanna know about it. I mean, these pills look like candy. I mean, to any little kid, they'll be like, oh, this is just some, and I mean, 1/10 of a gram of that stuff could kill 20 people. And so for me, the prevention piece, the education to folks that are that age, that's, I there, but then helping, law enforcement, you guys be able to fight it, keep it out. Is there money, could it be done to help prevent it getting here, or, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, to it, but, I know you guys got a very difficult job, and I think we've got to make sure we don't forget that you guys are out there on the front lines, trying to keep this stuff out of there and supporting whatever support you need. Because the last thing I would want was some kid just to make a bad choice one time and it end their life and affect the family forever. So, I'm aligned with you guys. That's just my take personally on it.
I guess my number one, I think there's already some good work, being done in our communities. I guess my number one would be recovery, support services. My number two would probably be, criminal justice diversion programs, stuff like our drug court. And I guess my number three would be reentry programs to just kind of help. I would look for things that, have a proven track record, that are evidence-based and, can show, a lower recidivism rate in it. I didn't choose, prevention, as one of my top three. What was that word? That was recidivism? Yeah. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Do it again, even though you're not supposed to. Okay, gotcha, thank you for the education.
I didn't choose prevention as one of my top three, because I don't know that we could fund what I think are prevention programs that's working. So I think prevention programs that work really well are things that, you know, keep kids engaged and involved, things like, 4-H, things like, trail life, sports, rec. Anywhere you can get a kid involved with healthy adults and keep them active, I think really helps, helps prevent, that from taking place, but I don't know that you could fund things like that with the opioid money. So that's why I didn't, if you could, I'd love to fund those.
Question, John, I mean, I remember when I was a kid in school, you know, the DARE folks, they scared the living daylights out of me. And, you know, I mean, it probably was a good thing because you know, there's many opportunities that you get. And as you get older, that you know, that I could remember back to those lessons. But I mean, now, is the DARE program still a active? And, you know, I mean, you got a government that's saying, oh, it's okay to sell pot, no, or it's not, no, the government's not saying that, I'm sorry, you got states that are saying that. And so how do you tailor that program to not make?
So. I'm not a DARE officer, let me begin by saying that, I know we just sent 2 SROs additionally to go through DARE school, I believe both of them passed, graduated from DARE school, so that they can be instructors for DARE. It's a minimal amount of time in the school year that DARE gets implemented, I believe, which is a bit of an issue.
I think it's 5th grade too, only.
Yeah, it's a limited window that you're touching these kids in DARE, and you can't scare kids enough to make them not do something. That's not, it's more of the education surrounding what these choices impact you down the road, not necessarily a scared straight, because kids just don't respond to that. That's in my experience has been. So like I said, programs that you can learn about it, programs where you have an open discussion about problems in the community and how you can get help or avoid those problems or things that you need to be focusing towards. I believe personally, and then, probably touched on it, some of these tools and things that we can use to identify substances in the cases of incidental overdoses or accidental overdoses, that we know what we're dealing with, because there's some really nasty things floating around right here within 10 miles of us right now, I'm sure. So.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate the input, because that's, to me, that's important, how we educate.
Anything else from us?
But I appreciate the board giving us some areas to work within, so you give us some good driving lines. We're good.
All right, well, if you need nothing else, there'll be no action taken on that tonight, and we'll move on. Item 10C tonight is our MOU between, NC, DHHS and Mitchell County. Do you have anything you'd like to speak? I know it was in our packet.
Yeah, basically just a standard MOU. I think it's been passed by county attorneys, looked it over, it looks good.
Is this a yearly MOU or is this just a?
What I understood, it's yearly, is business that.
This is a 2-year,
2-year.
it would expire June 30th, 2026, unless renewed.
Okay.
But basically, a lot of these just keep the process rolling.
Anybody have any questions about the MOU? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the MOU?
So move.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Okay, the motion carries. All right, our next item up is Safe Babies MOU, and I'm going to pass that off to our legal counsel to maybe speak just a little bit to the board about them.
Yes, ma'am. We are, or our judicial district has been selected as a pilot program for a Safe Babies Court, which is a juvenile justice, DSS type court, which will focus and have intensive care for newborns and infants who are at risk of coming into DSS custody, to provide additional support around the parents of the newborns, and also would have a component where there is a court involvement involved in the judicial system for some oversight related to that. The state has a grant that will fund this for a 1-year period and will provide payment for our BSS contract counsel to appear and to attend that, as well as some other expenses related to our Department of Social Services. So I have reviewed this with the attorney for the state, and what you have before you is a draft that would set forth the reimbursement requirements that would adhere to the county. I would note this is a 1-year non-recurring grant at this point, and we are a pilot program. So there's no guarantee that the state will continue this program for an additional year. And that also means there's no guarantee that the state would fund any positions that they would provide related to the Safe Baby Sport after the first year. So they've done something similar when they created drug court, probably 10, 15 years ago. And that ended up becoming a county responsibility. But that is because the counties saw a real benefit and reduction in the recidivism rate as a result of the drug court process. So I would mention that it is something that it's a state expense that they will handle, but after the 1-year period, there's no guarantee they would continue that or that this would continue, as it is a pilot program.
So at the 1-year mark of the pilot program, do they make all of the data? Is there data that is generated from this for everyone to look at and review and see if it was successful? And
There should be,
Okay.
yes.
Basically, whoever gets hired for that needs to know that if they don't produce results, they might, and there's no continuing funding, and the county is opting to do it, then there's a chance the county might not pay for it if it doesn't have hard numbers behind it.
Has that position already been, I'm pretty sure that position's already been hired for by the court.
So it'd be it's a state position. So there's no obligation that the county pick up these expenses. But there's also no obligation that the state continue to pay these expenses.
We currently have someone in our judicial district in that position, correct?
Yes, because it is funded as a pilot program, but this allows us to utilize our Department of Social Services and our legal counsel as a component of
To
it.
work with other things.
anybody have any questions about?
It's got such a name, you'd feel guilty not to vote for it.
Do you guys have any questions? Discussion topics?
Not really.
Okay, just, okay, fine. All right, do we have a motion to move forward with the safe?
So
Babies? Okay,
Say,
all in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. Next item up is our emergency management EOP plan, and I believe that is what the individual from the High Country and Colby had presented at our last meeting.
that's correct. This is to adopt those plans. We had those presented and now the board would need to vote to move forward with adopting those for use with the county. So that just updates our EOP plan, keeps the county current. Always good to have an up-to-date plan.
How often does that have to be updated?
I know, I would guess, and I don't have Colby here with me, that it would need to be updated every 5 years would be a good guess, because I know our last one that we had was 15 years ago, I think somewhere thereabouts. It was like 2010 thereabouts. Would you say last EOP? I'd say it'd be good to do that.
I don't know if it's something you need to put eyes on every year and just make.
It's always good to update.
But yeah, the reason I was asking is so for our currently, like we have a disaster, I don't know what is, I can't remember what's labeled in the EO plan for the National Guard or whatever to do a, what's it called? Colby has to set up if there's an emergency.
It's a mobile command
Yes,
unit.
or something to that effect where the entities can come in. So I
Okay.
didn't know if that was to be changed to Bowman or something, is that?
Yeah, those little things like that we would want to, if we had a area that we would want to designate. Got to talk with the communications director and emergency management, kind of do some update here and there on that as we see fit.
All right, do we have a motion to move forward with the emergency management EOP plan?
So move.
Thank you, Clayton. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Okay, motion carries. Next item up, along those same lines is the emergency management IRA. And that was also presented and discussed at the last meeting. So is there any further discussion about that? Hearing none, do we have a motion to move forward with the adoption of the emergency management IRA?
So move.
Jeff, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Clayton. All in favor? Okay, the motion carries on that one. All right, the next item up in our agenda is item 10G, and that is going to be our Meeker County Board of Education distribution request. And so you should have had all of the information in your board packet that come to the county manager from Chairman Pittman on the Board of Education. And so I think basically it was covering items that they spoke about in previous meetings about the DOT road widening. So is there any discussion on that topic?
Mavis, I guess you've seen that, the issues.
This is coming from their sales tax that we are currently holding with, they have about $880,000 of that fund right now. So it's going to come from their.
Yeah, so kind of plan this during budget sessions, right? We plan this during budget sessions, right?
Well, what they do is we didn't know at budget time exactly how much they were gonna need. So they send a request as they need it.
If the plan was to use their sales tax money, then it's okay.
Any discussion? Hearing none, do we have a motion to move forward with the Mitchell County Board of Education distribution of request? And I believe that amount was $286, $572 and 90 cents. Brendan, thank you, Clayton. All in favor? Motion carries. Next item up is item 10H. That is going to be our resolution authorizing Mitchell County manager to contract with Go Smart Lighting for our outdoor recreation facility.
I would like to talk a little bit about that, but I'd also like to have the consultation of the county attorney. I have 3 estimates. 2 are on the printer in there to print them out, but we're basically getting field lighting for the new baseball field that's near this building here that we're working on with the indoor rec facility project. And we solicited 3 bids, and the lowest bid has come into that come in as the lowest bid. So we're therefore looking for the go ahead to move forward with getting that lowest bid. I would like a moment to give council the other 2 bids so he can give a quick review on them and make those available to the board as well. Back there just on the printer here.
Madam Chair, while Mr. Cook's doing that, and by way of background on this, given the amounts involved, the process is an informal bidding process. That means that the commissioners need to solicit at least 3 informal bids for the proposed construction project. The commissioners are required to select the lowest responsible bidder based upon the specifications as were presented. So that's what's been prepared, and that's the other 2 documents Mr. Cook is going to get will be the total of the 3 bids. From my understanding, the low bid has come in under the anticipated budget for the installation of these lighting items, and Mr. Heise has recommended a potential change order to accompany this to provide the parking lot lighting. So that's what you'll be asked to consider is both the award of the contract and then also a potential associated change order. And Madam Chair, if I can have just a moment to
Absolutely.
give some numbers, I hopefully have a recommendation.
Yes,
This here forever. It's
but your windows
so it's just like not.
look like this national sound. when those things go on. It is not pointing towards residential areas, so it shouldn't be problematic. I don't think so. But I don't think so.
Maybe I mean, the park line. Security.
Probably enough that you can. turn some of us off. So why you have to discuss recess?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I move on recess.
Okay. Where senior citizens got their final notice for their block record number. Their budget change, so they could have to. They always estimate that number. Well, it came in just a little bit different, so Debbie from the city citizen had to put the form in, saying this is what we got, and everything. It's only considered.
Yeah.
Yes,
And the,
Their total allocation, I think it's something like $7
do some gatherings.
That's what I tried to turn it out. Up there.
Somewhere.
They don't.
Yeah.
That's not right.
John Laxton, MAS.
See, it's warmer up here, down there it's freezing. Yeah. It's because y'all need bigger space. I mean, and we're gonna. Hey, there's no vent here, that's another thing. See, there's no vent.
That's what I say.
Yes.
Yes, you know, she had the impulse, but they're go back to going.
Turns out that all they were came to there were other meetings with the city that group of people.
Northern's long year back. I've been working on this project. We've been putting in a new levee, at work.
Oh, okay. So I'm having to do a 500+ 2-year flood protection plan. And so I had to get all kinds of permits because it's delivering all years back. And I didn't know, didn't want to know. No, but more than you want to know. And I'm sitting here like, well, that's starting. It's forest and not dealing with these bats, because I know they're native. And I mean, and but she answered my question, and it's really more of a curiosity for me of like, how are you?
Well, Brandon asked my question. That would be, and apparently, I mean, there's a lot going on, not much here.
Right.
American chestnut.
The chestnuts,
Those were killed out.
Oh,
Years.
yeah.
Well, about 100 years. They're still alive.
Yes.
They call it functional extinction because they're not producing that. But there's not enough to make enough chestnut.
Never grew with us. I can remember too. Chestnuts, I mean.
But those are Chinese chestnuts.
I didn't know that.
American chestnut died, American chestnuts, about 40-50% of the Appalachian. Store, tall main trees, you're trying to tall trees, those chestnuts.
Okay.
And those got killed by a Chinese or an Asian woman that, this basically attacked the poor tree and killed everything above it. But they couldn't get down in the roots, so they've been coming back for years. They haven't come up with a blight tall and variety of the American chestnuts. Or the Asian, Chinese chestnuts can handle.
That's kind of like we.
I mean, this tree, when I was a kid, you walk in the forest, you'd see a tree laying there. 8 feet, 8 to 10 feet diameter, and it's been rotting for 40 years. And we're falling, they cut it. It's just. Very much like that. That's what they have.
But still. Yes.
How you doing?
You feel good for it. Miss a couple of Monday night.
Yeah.
What else did you look for here? Learning about the county?
Did you take it in?
Unless you have to report on the county, then you're like, good Lord, we just.
Yeah, that's just,
Let's see, pay attention to me.
So something, Tracy, that we're doing.
I was trying to give you a hard time. I was trying to give you a hard time. I said, where else is you gonna be on a Monday night unless you were having to report on this when you're sitting there going like, please, these people get to the end of this meeting, so thank you for hanging in with us.
Sorry, I'm too tired.
I understand. It's a long.
All right. No, they missed.
Well, I just. Older and a little bit off. Chicken finger. Okay, what it is. Quit the.
Are you ready? Yeah.
We will go ahead and reconvene, before we recess, we were on item 10H, and we were discussing the resolution authorizing Mitchell County Manager to contract with Go Smart Lighting for the new outdoor recreation facility. So council, have you had enough time to review?
Yes, ma'am, I have reviewed all 3 of the informal bids that we received, and you have a low bid from Go Smart Energy of Charlotte, North Carolina, in the amount of $171,519.07. You would also have a change order to add, lights in the, parking lot. That would be a $7,239 change order. So long as the board finds Go Smart Energy to be a responsive bidder, which is the recommendation of the project manager, the board may award the bid to that company. And Madam Chair, I'm happy to prepare a written contract with them for that purpose, if you decide to go forward. So, Mr. Hines has prepared a proposed resolution, which is appropriate in form as to, including both that, price and then also the change order that would add some additional lighting in the parking area, to tack that on.
And basically, just to expand on that, that additional lighting is on that same pole as the field lighting, but it kind of shines in reverse back to the parking area for safety's sake. So you got a night game, you have kids running through that parking lot. That's just security lighting, a little more safety lighting, and it wasn't hardly anything to add to it. And it's still substantially, as in tens of thousands of dollars less than the next comparable bid. So just wanted to kind of clarify why we went ahead and did that. And some of that pole lighting also is aimed up, so if a pop fly flies up in the field, that addition allows that ball to be more illuminated because it puts a different angle. So that was another addition. That's part of the change order to make that work was a little bit more efficient.
Any questions or discussions from the board tonight on this topic?
I'm glad we spent that money on part of what lighting. I hate to think somebody getting ran over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I move that we accept this bid.
No second.
All in favor? Okay, motion carries. All right, our last item up for discussion tonight is going to be item 10I. And that is going to be our license plate agency lease and county manager or county attorney.
I'll start a little bit on there. I've talked to Van a little bit and I talked to the county attorney. There was just a few adjustments to get that contract where it was covering what we needed it. And I'll talk to four right here too. But one of them was that our county NCACC insurance policy only goes up to 2 million on the general liability insurance, 2 million per occurrence. And that contract asks for 5 million. So talked to the Great Meadows on the phone and they basically said that, we can go with you on that. That's kind of a no-brainer. You're insured. If your max is at 2 million, we'll go with you on that. The other form I need to talk to a little bit is some wording related to the governmental immunity, I guess, and any other thing. So speak to that, and I know we can maybe move forward off of that after you speak.
Yes, sir. My other changes are more technical in nature that have to do with the legalese of things. One is, as a governmental entity, we want to reserve any governmental immunity that we would have claimed by third parties. And since the lease requires us to carry liability insurance that covers third parties, it needs to reflect that that does not waive any governmental immunity defenses that the association may wish to raise related to any claims that could come from this. And again, that deals with third parties, not necessarily the landlord. So I don't believe they would object to that. The other item we'll need to address is a lease that's longer than 3 years needs to be in a reportable format and be recorded with the register of deeds. This is a 10-year, 5-year. And as such, it needs to be notarized and then in a reportable format. So I'll get with Mr. Cook related to whether they want to report a memorandum of lease for the lease itself related to these items. But if it meets with your approval, otherwise, I would ask you to consider any adoption to be subject to it conforming to the requirements of your attorney to get it in the format that complies with those items.
Do we have any discussion from the board?
Just a question.
Yes.
Have you touched base with Great Meadows about the subject matter you just talked about before tonight?
No, sir, my contact's been through Mr. Cook, so I've not spoken with the landlord or any parties related to that.
Okay.
But if we don't have something that isn't a recordable format, it's not an enforceable lease, which I think would defeat the purpose of both parties.
Yeah.
So, but I'll ask probably Mr. Cook is the best point of contact there, but those would be our requested changes.
What would you explain the 5-year renewal? What is that?
So the lease agreement for 10 years, if we're pleased with the lease and wish to stay, it allows us a 5-year renewal at a price that's set forth in the lease. If we wish to terminate at the end of 10 years, the commission could do that. So it's an option that belongs to the commission to extend it for another 5 years, if you choose to do so.
Other questions for or Aaron? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to move forward with the license plate agency lease pending legal counsel review? Would that be a correct motion?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I'm still confused a little bit about the 5-year renewal. So we probably down to 10 years, in this lease, we're down to 5 years.
So this lease is for a 10-year period. When you're in the 9th year, the Board of Commissioners can give notice that they intend to exercise the right to stay for an additional 5 years at the end of that 10-year period. And so it can be for a total of 15 years.
And I guess the reason, I guess for folks listening, the reason that it's a 10-year lease is because the landlord's gonna build the suit and they're not gonna invest that kind of funding in a short-term lease without a
Yeah, so
process.
that's my understanding of the discussions is that.
Yeah, that's amortized over 10 years. The cost of the build to suit. And of course, LPA is looking at approving that plan as well. I've noticed as of recent, but I'll get some weigh in on.
There was some discussion about the DMV joining us in this field, and is that still an option or?
I talked to Ralph, that's probably been a couple of months back, we didn't eat breakfast and, he was working on trying to do that for. I guess that was in May that we talked, and so he was trying to work on it in the short session to get that funding appropriated, and that's the last I talked to him about it, and I'm not followed up with him on it, so I know he's got it on his radar. 100%.
I asked that because would there be some leeway for the DMV or DOT, wherever is in force, driver's license to join us in this lease on down the road if that comes to fruition?
I believe it would have to be 2 separate leases because it's my understanding that the building itself is one. So the Sears building itself, it was 1 unit, but now it's gonna have to be separated off. And so like the electrical for this side is gonna have to be separate from this side. So I would imagine it would have to be 2 separate leases.
Any assignment would require the landlord's consent.
So, what we're kind of looking at is maybe DMV on one side and.
That'd be my ultimate goal is to get them both out there in the same locale where you can one-stop shop. Full-time, one-stop shop. So we had a full-time, DMV person there.
It would be great like that. Wilmington,
Yeah.
and schedule that 3 months in advance.
Yes, 100%.
Us folks that have CDLs can't renew online.
I'll follow up with Ralph and see where he's at with that.
And when you're there every 3 years.
Yes, well, every time we turn around, we're doing.
Yep.
Any more questions or discussion? Okay.
Make the motion with said change.
Pending legal counsel review.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? That's our usual sign. Motion carries.
Those additions.
Yes, sir, I'll redline and return it to you.
So. What time is it now? 9:30. Shoot for 10.
I like it.
So, all right, the next item up is item 11. It's gonna be our consent agenda. There are several different things on there as far as communications contracts and property tax refunds. Medical director contract for reappraisal. And the last one being the home and community care block grant for older adults. Is there any discussion, questions, or anything regarding the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to move forward with the consent agenda?
Move to accept. Second.
All in favor? Okay, the motion carries on our consent agenda tonight. Our next item up is gonna be item 12, and for everybody in the audience and in the live stream, we do have a new clerk to the board, and she's sitting back here with Miss Christie. And so, Alan, I will open the floor up if you have any comments to make before we make a motion to move forward.
I have none. I think we got some good clerk coming on here, so we're excited about these.
All right, do we have a motion to move forward to appoint Deidre as our?
So move. Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
It is pending her daughter bring us candy.
Your mind. And there's no oath or anything?
There is an.
Okay.
So let me do that right quick.
Okay. Got it.
And there's the- Just put your hand on the Bible. I, Deidre McKinney,
I, Deidre McKinney,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and maintain
and maintain
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do solemnly
I do solemnly
and sincerely
sincerely
swear that I will be faithful
swear that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers
and to the constitutional powers
and authorities
and authorities
which are,
which,
or, go ahead,
which are
or may be
or may be
established
established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will not, or that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support
to support
and maintain
and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will execute the duties
that I will execute the duties
of the office of Mitchell County Clerk
of the office of Mitchell County Clerk
to the board
to the board
according to the best of my skill
according to the best of my skill
and ability
and ability
and according to the law.
and according to the law.
So help me God.
So help me God. Congratulations.
Fish.
She hasn't run away in our first meeting. It was a long one, so.
It's been a long one, so you're doing good.
Everything's been removed. So the next item up is our finance officer's report. Magus, have you got?
I'll make it 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Quick. Just to bring you up to speed, where we are at in the finance office right now, of course, we're in the throes of the audit for year ending June 30th. We're pretty close to, closing out receivables. We have, this month to go. Interestingly, it's, going really, really smooth. Sales tax has got to come in next week, which is gonna be interesting to see where that's gonna land. A lot of work going on right now in the finance office. It's really, really busy. So that's what's going on to close out last year. Of course, audit will be here. Our auditor, Misty Watson, will be here probably in November to do your presentation of your audit. So hopefully I can, clue you in a
the next meeting about where I think we're gonna land. I've got a pretty good idea. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. For this year, we have started out, you've got your reports in your packets for where we are for 1 month in. Just to remind you, it looks a little crazy because it looks like we've only got in 4% revenues, but we spent 10%. And everybody remembers at the first of the year, we pay all of those annual insurances, software, hardware, subscriptions, leases, and things like that. So actually, we're actually doing really well. Because I'm sure Jesse told you property tax collections are running about 5% more than they were last year this time. So we've got a jump start on those already. So don't let the numbers drive you crazy because they're really in line, even though they don't look in line. Anybody got any questions or?
Hopefully sales tax does not mirror, it's not much.
Christy can comment a little bit because she did go to the finance officers meeting week before last, and they actually talked a lot about sales tax, which is kind of what I've been saying for the last few months and during budget process. If you want to comment a little bit about what they
project that we're gonna start seeing that kind of start declining again. So, and some of the bigger counties and cities are already seeing that. We're a little bit behind, and this is all spoke to that several times before. We're usually a little behind the 8 ball on that, but yeah. They still not to anticipate sales tax to continue at the rate it has been in the last few years.
We were pretty conservative though anyway in our projections, right?
I did not project any growth,
It's not the answer.
but I really don't know about the decline. Well, we were gonna hope that we can, yeah, I think we're gonna be late. I think we're okay. I didn't go crazy with it, so I think we're good. Yeah, if it don't go like the stock market went today, we'll be okay. All right.
Maybe send you update on our aluminum ban. Have you heard?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was afraid you was gonna mention that.
Hey, you should have told me. I would give you up.
No, we actually, I've asked this guy to come look again. Unfortunately, when, there was some time passed there from when he first came up and met with all of us and talked about his idea and how much the baler was gonna cost. That baler went from about 28,000 to 70,000. So that's kind of on to wait and see how things pan out. I'm thinking it was just not a good time to price it again. He's actually gonna come up and take a look at our space now that it's finished to see what kind of idea he can come up with, because what he had proposed really jumped in price. So if you have a solution, we'll talk to somebody else, but right now we're kind of doing what we've been doing. And that's crushing them with the old machine, which is working. It's just not efficient, but it works. But the cost has gotten a little prohibitive, but I do think that'll change. I think it'll come back down. Have you bought one in the last few months?
A couple of years, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right, but.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll charge you with figuring out where to find some money for that. You come back to us when you tell us.
Well, I think we're gonna look at options.
Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't forgot it. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten it.
I've got one question, and I've been asked the question, I don't know the answer.
Okay.
As far as inspections on the money that's been budgeted,
Mhm.
does that cover the outside contracted service?
It does.
Okay.
It
So
sure
that
does.
covers 3 building inspectors from outside, 1 fire marshal.
Your fire marshal is under fire inspector coordinator. If you'll look 2 lines up,
Okay, with that,
that's his budget.
okay, so the contracted fire marshal that we're using to do level 3s out of Avery County, does that money come out of the fire inspector coordinator pot of money.
It's coming out of,
Andrew's now got his probation.
Yeah.
increase.
we've not paid any this
Oh,
year.
It's not to,
Okay.
we've not had any enough to.
Okay.
We have had some limited level 3 fire, but not very much, but it's from our other guy out of McDowell County.
And we're paying him out of inspections, actually. It's.
Okay.
We've not had any this year though, have we?
No, it's been
Mm-mm.
negligible.
Yeah, was that commission handled one for the gym shop?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's.
he did it.
The Andrew got that.
Mhm. He did that
Now
one.
probationary 3, so 9%. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Okay, then what you got in your.
I'll keep it short tonight. We're working a lot of projects and so a big portion of my day is bouncing between the rec center field project, the rec center indoor project, and the law enforcement center, just keeping that project moving. We're also working a housing grant, just signed some paperwork for that. That was the $375,000 housing study that's gonna go in Mitchell County. It's exciting. It's gonna be about a year or so out, but when that data comes back, that's gonna be neat. Of course, departmental things that we always got going on and always trying to look and make sure we're giving the oversight and the benchmarks that we need to on all our programs. So very busy. I'll give you a real detailed county manager report on the next meeting.
Thank you.
We've been a lot today.
Our next item up, it's gonna be our public comment, and I appreciate you, Miss Jessica, for sticking with us and learning all about the county today. So if you would like to come up, I believe you had listed on here that you are here to speak about the Mitchell Community Substance Abuse Task Force.
That's right, yes. This was an exciting way to get out of bedtime tonight, so thanks for having me. I'm Jessica Zucchino, and I am here as a Mitchell County resident and also as the coordinator of the Mitchell Yankee Substance Abuse Task Force. You might also remember me as standing with Glenda many weeks before, talking about that community learning process that you all invested in. So just wanted to start by thanking you again for investing in that effort, with Yancey County. That was a huge benefit to our community. And I know that there are a lot of people that experience benefits just through that process. And I wanted to highlight that the commitment of resources that you all put in was matched with that community effort. Like Glenda mentioned, local residents submitting stories, folks offering their perspective at one or more of the sense-making sessions, and then some folks, like she outlined, serving in that advisory role to make sure that the process was appropriate for our county. And I also want to highlight that our task force in particular greatly benefited from that community learning process. So there's been a significant burst in energy in this area around substance use because of the collection of data and because of those sense-making sessions. The task force has acted, like Linda mentioned, as an organizing body to continue efforts forward from that process and try to put plans into motion. So we've seen consistent increase in meeting participation. We're really grateful to have a commissioner come to our last meeting and also to have Glenda, who participates with us, as well as other folks in our county that participate. So we were also able to complete or create a unified vision for how we want to address substance use, support recovery, and employee prevention efforts through our 2-county effort as a coalition. So just so you have some context, we currently have over 50 active members who contribute to the task force, and that represents over 20 different agencies between the 2 counties. There is high commitment to creating things that work for both counties. There's also specific efforts, like I heard, I think maybe it was Harley that mentioned, a community paramedic So that's a conversation that's happening in our task force also. We know that it exists in Yancey County. We're also exploring what would it look like? How could we make something like that happen? How can we support whatever efforts are already happening in our community around that sort of thing? So lots of the things that you all mentioned as you did your round of priorities align with what the task force is doing as well. So I would like to also extend the invitation if you ever feel moved to come to our meetings. Right now, we're on a monthly meeting schedule. We alternate between daytime and evening meetings, and that schedule will go until November. We have 9 advisory group members, so it's not like I coordinate the task force, but I don't make really any decisions. I hand it over to the folks to make it much like you all are doing, acting as a voice for others. So I have an advisory group that makes a lot of decisions, and that's a representation of both counties as well. So I'm sharing all of this just to remind you that the task force is present, we're active, and we're engaged.
Where do you guys meet at?
We move our meetings around. So we do like 2 meetings in Mitchell, and then we do 2 meetings in Yancey. So when we're meeting in Mitchell, we're almost always at Tractor, because it's a space that holds us well. When we're meeting in Yancey County, we try to meet at the Yancey County Library. Because that's
Is
another
Tractor
space.
where the old, yeah, they used to be there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so I can share that. Glenda may be able to share that easily too, whenever meetings are coming up. If any of you want to be added to our email list, I'd be happy to add you to that, because I just send updates of what's going on. So if you'd like to be aware of what we're working on, you could stay in touch with us that way. So my simple ask for you this evening is that you consider utilizing this pool of highly motivated, highly committed residents and professionals to support your decision-making and or consult with as you're making decisions as it relates to opioid settlement funds. I know that this is a complex issue. I know that this isn't your only project either. So we would love to help you all in this in the ways that you find appropriate. Obviously, it's your decision to make. And we want to make sure that we understand where your priorities are so that we can coordinate efforts. So if it's helpful to talk to other people who are in the task force about what their priorities are, what their agencies can fund to make some informed decisions on what you will fund instead, please be in touch with me, or I can give you the names of all of the advisory group members if you'd rather talk to somebody else other than me. So thank you so much for your time, and thanks for the very important work you do for the benefit of Mitchell County.
Thank you. All right, board comment.
I do actually. I went to the state presentations conference, I guess it was last week, Steve. 2 weeks ago, and me and my wife were talking about a lot of progress that we've seen in our 4-H program. I'm really pleased with that. It seems to be growing and really going in a good direction, and
I think Erin's hit the ground running. I'm super excited about her livestock endeavors.
yeah, it's looking great. It's becoming, I think, robust again. I really appreciate the work that Steve and Sharon do to help facilitate that, so.
Steve, you got any board comment?
No comments from me.
Jeff, can you-
I'm good. No comment.
I don't really have, I guess it's a comment or not, but when Dr. Wood was given his update, was anybody else taking notes? Because I did have a question. I wrote down 100% pass rate for nursing and BLET.
Yes.
Might have been board test, right, first pass rate in their boards.
And so, but BLET, that is the law enforcement class, right? So, okay, I'm just gonna touch base with them because I know that that is not accurate. There's several I know that didn't pass this last go round, some that I'm friends with, so I guess I'll just touch base with him. Okay. Okay, well, so our next item up is going to be a short closed session. And we will need a motion to go into it. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, sorry, and it is a general statute 143-318.11A.
It's a training plan. Back here.
Yes.
You're doing that budget session, you're doing this.
They can be very long.
Do you have any idea?
Yeah, it's nothing that, you know, so.
I know, but
We'll probably be here about 5 minutes. My goal is to be there before 10.
I need you before you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
It will take us a minute, yes, maybe. Some clarification.
That's great.
It's not.